It's time for Ask the Tech Guys. I'm Leo Laporte. Coming up, why marketing terms and security do not mix.
And I'm Mikah Sargent, and I'm going to show you how to take a look at the battery health on your smartphones.
Plus, a great chili recipe and a TV that's going to fall off your wall. It's all coming up next on Ask the Tech Guys.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT. This is Ask the Tech Guys, episode 1957 for Sunday, January 15th, 2023. Battery-powered suction cups. Ask the Tech Guys is brought to you by Melissa. Over 10,000 clients worldwide in industries like retail, education, healthcare, insurance, finance, and government rely on Melissa for full spectrum data quality and ID verification software. Make sure your customer contact data is up to date. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free at melissa.com/twit. Thanks for listening to this show as an ad-supported network. We are always looking for new partners with products and services that will benefit our qualified audience. Are you ready to grow your business? Reach out to advertise@twit.tv and launch your campaign now. Hey, welcome. It's the Tech Guys. We're here. Mikah Sargent.
And Leo Laporte. Hello.
You're so natty, and you're wearing cool socks.
Cool.
We realized, and this is, if you're just listening to the radio show version, you don't realize that we are sitting on a camera, and you can see us.
Yeah, we wave, we smile.
And normally, every other show I do, you can't see anything below the waist.
That's true. This is a rare occurrence.
And I thought, all of a sudden they're seeing my socks. So I and somebody commented. So I thought, well, okay. So
I'm digging them today.
Do we have enough crazy socks that we can wear? These
I definitely do.
Former sponsor, Bombas.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
That's what I'm wearing. These are Bombas socks.
We're Bombas brothers.
We are. Oh.
So, Micah and I are going to be joining you, and I hope you'll be joining us. We do it live every Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific. That's our time. As you can see, we're on Pacific time. Look at that clock.
Wow, beautiful.
That's a nice clock. We realized we didn't have a clock last week. Got to have a clock. Everything we do has to. Do you have in your house, maybe it's just me, there's no eye line in my house that I can't see a clock?
Yes, that's how it has to be. My great-grandparents instilled that in me.
Is that weird?
They've got hundreds of clocks, and they had hundreds of clocks in their home.
Why is that? I thought it was because I was in radio, but I guess not.
I think it's because we want to be in control, even though the world is random and nothing matters.
And time is really just a construct.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a construct
choose.
we enjoy.
Yeah.
So every Sunday at this hour, you can tune in. You can watch us live at live.twit.tv. That's our podcast, netcast website. The other day, Lisa was saying, I wish we hadn't changed to podcast. Because, for a long time, I didn't want it to be a podcast because of Apple's iPod. And I thought, we're not about what you listen to us on, which is good because there's iPods no more. We are about how you get us, which is over the internet. So I thought netcast, and it's like casting a net. I thought it was so much better. I gave a keynote at Podcast Expo in the early days, imploring podcasters to call themselves netcasters. So finally, I went to Podcast Expo a couple of years ago with Lisa and Jerry, our COO, and somebody, I think it was Tim Street in his panel, who's a guy I really admire, said, call yourself a podcast. So we renamed everything. Now Lisa says, as the podcast advertising market collapses, can we be a netcast again? Anyway, whatever we are, netcast podcast. We come to you over the internet now. No more towers, no more transmitters, although we do have a very nice AM transmitter in the studio over in the radio corner. That's an AM transmitter.
That works?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
So we could be a radio station, but we've decided that's probably best. The downside of that is it used to be very easy to hear the radio show. You could, in fact, many people discover it by accident. You're driving in the car, you hello, and then suddenly you're hearing a radio show, and maybe you go, oh, that's interesting because I like tech. But we don't have that serendipity anymore. People have to find us. So tell your friends. We are also on YouTube. There's a YouTube channel dedicated to Ask the Tech Guys. Am I right? I think it is. YouTube.com. Probably Tech Guy, probably. But here's the reason I mention that. If you want to tell your friends, those people who can't figure out how to watch a show that's not on the radio. If you want to tell your friends, you could use your YouTube, take a little snip of something. For instance, I'm going to talk in just a second we're going to talk about passwords some more. If you think that's important, you can snip it on YouTube and send it to them, and it will help them discover us.
YouTube.com/TechGuyLabs.
Okay. Website remains techguylabs.com. If you subscribed, as you probably figured this out by now, if you subscribe to Ask the Tech Guy in the podcast client you use, if you subscribe to the Tech Guy, you'll continue to get the show. It's the same. In fact, we even started the numbering with 1956. So
yep.
This is just in other words, I'm considering this a continuation of the show we've always done. Now, there's a couple of points before we get to the calls. Calls, by the way, are Zoom now. We don't have to use the phone. So we're using Zoom. Call.twit.tv. And you know what? The best way to do this on your smartphone, Mikah showed this last week. Mm-hmm. Just on your browser in Safari or Chrome, go to call.twit.tv. If you have Zoom, it'll launch it. If you don't, it'll give you the opportunity to download it. Because we know your camera and your microphone work on your phone, just do it like that. It's okay if it's shaky cam.
Yeah, and if you want to be fancy, you just turn your phone to the side.
Does that work?
Fancy. Yep.
Oh.
Then it'll be landscape.
Either way, you're going to end up in a round hole.
Yeah, it doesn't. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying, if you're feeling a little fancy.
Because what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in on your head. Do make your bed, though. We might see that behind you.
Yes.
And that way we get video calls. We get higher call quality. It is, again, another barrier to entry. So, grandma and grandpa, well, you got to help them figure out Zoom, I guess. Or they can ask you the question. Or they probably know how to use email. We got a ton of email, didn't we?
We've got so much email
Holy
already.
Cow. In fact, let's put that on the lower third, if you would. Ask the Tech Guys at twit.tv. That's our email. So you can put that right down there next to call.twit.tv. So we'll take email. Preferred, we'd love to see you. We'd love to see video. You could record a video with a question and send it via email, but text is fine too. We're going to do a lot of those too. So one of the things we got a lot of emails about, spanking me bad, Leo.
Oof.
Because I did not give enough love to 1Password. We talked about leaving LastPass. And I think by now most of us understand that LastPass has mishandled this breach. They knew about it earlier. There you go. I love that. Thank you. They put the email in. They knew about the breach in July.
Mm-hmm.
They said at the time, we don't think anything important was stolen. And then by December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, that's always a bad sign when a tech company puts out a press release 2 days before Christmas. They're trying to bury it.
Yeah, exactly.
They're trying to bury it. They said, actually the vaults somebody stole all the vaults. A backup of the vaults. They got it all. That's as bad as you can get. Now, the issue, though, really is the vault that your LastPass vault or your 1Password vault or your Apple Keychain or your Bitwarden vault or your RoboForm, whatever the password manager, those are always encrypted in such a way that there's not just text in there, not your passwords anyway. It turns out LastPass, there was a lot of text about what sites you visited, what sites you had passwords for, things like that, but which they should not have allowed. But nevertheless, your login and password was encrypted. And so the bad guy would have to guess your master password. But there were two problems with that. One, most people don't use good master passwords. So if your password was, password 123, the bad guy's going to be able to crack that very, very fast in milliseconds, nanoseconds. The other thing is they do have a system, all password managers do, for re-encrypting over and over passwords to make it even harder to brute force it. They call it a key derivative function, PBKDF. And there's other ways to do that. In fact, maybe sometime we'll talk about that because there are better ways to do that, but most password managers are using PBKDF too. It turns out when Steve found this out last week, this was a big revelation. LastPass has not mentioned this. Many, many people, including many of our Security Now listeners, those are the most secure people in the world, had a iteration number, a PBKDF2 iteration number that was very low, 1. So we combine that with a guessable password, and surprisingly large number of guessable, means they had 0 security. So those people especially, your information is kind of out there. Now, over time, LastPass turned that number up to 500 to 5,000. Most recently, it's 100,100. It could be even higher. I went into Bitwarden and turned my PBKDF2, my iterations, up to 2 million without any problems. OWASP recommends like 300,000.
I think it was, around 300,000.
Turn it higher. The only disadvantage to having a higher number is it'll take a little bit longer the first time you download your password vault into your device to open it. A second or two. Big deal. Okay? Anyway, LastPass had not updated those old passwords. They also had old passwords stored in a format that wasn't very good, a codebook format that wasn't very good. So there were a number of issues with that vault. So, and the biggest issue is they didn't tell anybody. They still haven't said much. We don't know when the backup kit was from. We don't know a lot of things. So a lot of people are moving off LastPass. I showed you how to export. It's very easy last week. I didn't actually say which password manager you should go to. I think Dashlane is very good. I think 1Password is very good. I think Bitwarden, our sponsor, is very good. And there are others. I saw your tweet on Mastodon, which is, by the way, the equivalent of a tweet on Twitter, except better.
Translate.
I saw your tweet on Mastodon saying, well, yeah, I use 1Password. I just didn't want to interrupt Leo. Well, good. For 10 years. That's a perfectly good password manager. But then I got a lot of people because I had said on TWiT last Sunday, I was talking about two-factor, and Doc Rock said, well, what about this secret key, this agile keychain 1Password uses? That makes it more secure, right? And I kind of poo-pooed it. Let me explain that, because a lot of people said, well, Leo, you shouldn't have done that. So 1Password does something of interest. They add a second password that they generate numerically. Actually, your phone or device generates numerically. 1Password doesn't have access to it to unlock your vault. Is 2 better than 1 is the question. And the answer is complicated, of course, but I'll try to simplify it. You don't even use it, do you?
I guess if it's built in to it is.
Well, it adds some inconvenience.
Okay.
So you would know if you use it because you have to keep track of that file that has that secret number. And when you use a new device, you have to transmit it to the new device.
Oh, it's that.
It's
okay,
that.
Then yes, I do use that.
So that's good. Mm-hmm. It adds some inconvenience. Of course, there's always this trade-off between security and convenience. It also, it's costs more. You now have to pay for a subscription to LastPass to use it. Mm-hmm. It also has a sexy name. And that, my spidey sense, when I see sexy names, when I see marketing terms and they cost more, I always say, well, okay, let's talk about what it does. So it is valuable in one particular case, and it's maybe the reason you should recommend 1Password to your family members who are less sophisticated. If your master password is bad, it's a good password that will backstop it. So if you're using password 123 on 1Password, hey, good news, there's a second password that's strong that was generated automatically. You don't have to remember it, but you do have to store it. You can't lose it. So that's another potential problem. Here's the real question. If you are a smart person who listens to our shows and you have a very good master password, does that second password make you more secure? I would say no. This much, a little bit. No. Because if you have an infinitely hard to crack master password, does it matter that there's a second one? No.
Right.
So you adding inconvenience and cost for something you could handle yourself. Mm-hmm. So but now this is why it's good for Aunt Maud, because Aunt Maud's going to use her birth date, her cousin's maiden name, and her dog's name, which is not a good password. And so she's backstopped. So 1Password probably is a good choice, except for they have to maintain this separate file. They can't lose it, which is that's a problem even for me. Mm-hmm. So my suggestion is, it doesn't matter what password manager you use. You do not need this magic agile keychain second password. You need a strong master password. And that means it can't be obvious. It should be as random as you can make it and still memorize it. It should be long. Mine, I just counted, was 31 characters? It should be long. And that combination makes it impossible to break. That plus a good high PBKTF2. Mm-hmm. So if you do all that, I don't think you need to pay extra for the extra security that 1Password gives you. And I don't think the inconvenience it creates is worth it. It's actually a disadvantage. But it does put more burden on you to have a good password and your family members who maybe aren't very good. Encourage them not to have passwords that have English words in them. We were talking on Tuesday with security. Now Steve was explaining what entropy is. The more random the password is, the more entropy it has, the harder it is to guess. What it means is that the third character in your password is in no way related to the second or the fourth. Mm-hmm. You can't narrow down what the third is based on what the second was. So if you use an English word, CARE, you see the C, there are a much smaller subset of letters that could be the second one after that, right? That's poor entropy. That's why past phrases, I'm sorry, Russell Monroe, I'm sorry, XKCD, horse staple does not work. It's not good. You want something that's random. Now, how should you make a random password? Ideally, you generate it with your password manager, but then you're going to have to memorize Q379418442 question mark, and nobody can memorize that.
Right.
What do you do for your master password?
I actually used the built-in macOS keychain
Very smart
tool to make
that's so smart.
Password for my 1Password.
I should mention that, by the way. Your Apple keychain is doing the same thing 1Password does. It generates a second secure key, which it stores in the hardware secure enclave. That's why you have to, when you create a new device, you have to get that. You have to get the approval from an existing device. That's what's going on there. That's actually a better way to do it. You don't have to store it yourself. Your phone or your Mac stores it and transmits it over. Apple's doing that, and they should do that because most people's login password, which unlocks the keychain, isn't good.
Right.
You don't want a 31-character login.
Yeah, you're having to type the whole thing
Yeah,
in.
mine's not good. And even Apple says that strength is terrible. That is not. So that's why Apple does that, and they should do that. I think you're very smart. You use Apple's very good keychain password manager to generate.
It's a really good generator because they have an option that's called memorable. But memorable, well, hold on, I know. Memorable does not mean English words. It means that
letters.
Think of it like I make up a word now, Chlorbop 72 Thanksty. Those aren't real words, but I can remember Chlorbop 72 Thanksty.
Remember, TH, Thanksty.
That's true.
H often comes after a T in the English language. So entropy is lower for that H. So ideally, if it's
you think it should be GR?
It shouldn't be memorable.
31 character.
However,
password?
and this does lower the entropy, but marginally, you could use, for instance, the first letters of a phrase. So let's say your phrase is to be or not to be. That is the question.
Yeah.
If your master password were the number 2 and the letter B, the letter O, N, the number 2, B, T, I, T, Q.
And you could even use some commas in there.
That's a good start. If you can remember it, commas, if you can remember intercap, things like that. And then, still short, add something else. Because longer is better. There's another thing Steve taught us. He has a page called Password Haystacks. Even if it was 20 periods, that's a lot better than just 2B2. So what I do is I create a phrase that I can remember, but that generates an acronym, the initialisms, the first letters of each phrase, using some rules that only I know about punctuation and capitalization. And then that's even not enough. I add some numbers. And I'll give you an example of what you might want to do. Your childhood phone number, but the first 3 digits, and then put your childhood zip code and the last 4 digits. Now, you've got, 12 pretty random numbers. Adding that 12 things is a huge improvement. So if you combine this acronym initialism thing with a number or something that you just know, and by the way, that thing will be useful to add to other passwords later. Like if you want other memorable passwords, keep that number around. I can remember my childhood phone number, right? Everybody's drilled into it as a kid. So, but it's going to be hard to figure out what that is. And that by itself is still not enough, right? You have to have that, have to know how you've entangled it with other things. So I think it is possible to generate a good, long, strong password. If you do that, then you don't need to pay for and go through the rigmarole of 1Password's secret password because you've already got an impossible password to begin with. Turn up your derivatives to the PBKDF2 to as high a number as you can stand. 600,000 is minimum. 300,000, I guess. It's OWASP's recommendation. What is OWASP?
I don't remember the
It's a
initials.
nice security group.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the problem is not you. You're watching our show. You're smart. You know how to do this. The problem is friends and family, especially if you have a family LastPass or a family, password manager, because they're going to all be in it too. And we have this problem here. We use LastPass Enterprise for the company, and Russell, our IT guy, just had to send out a second email saying, "You guys, I told you to change your passwords. Please do that." And he has to go through because of this problem, has to go through all of our passwords.
I forgot I had a
them.
LastPass account.
I know. I never use
use
it.
it.
I never use it.
It's just
but
for
I
the
did.
company, but
I changed it, and I did what you did. I generated a password for it in Bitwarden.
Yeah.
Stored it in Bitwarden, so I don't have to remember it. So it's very, very secure.
Same.
And I don't have to bother Russell. Anyway, that's the sermon again. 2 weeks in a row is about passwords, but this is so important. Yeah. And so tell your family members, don't reuse passwords. Come up with a good, long, strong master password using a technique. Somebody once said, here's another good one. The presidents of the United States, older folks can remember this. Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson. They can remember that. But don't use the words. Use the first letters and uppercase the Republicans or something like that. That's, again, a mnemonic, something you can remember. You won't remember the password probably, but you can recreate it as you go. What should we do now, Mr. Mikah Sargent?
Well,
do you want to do a Sunday sermon?
Not today.
Next week is your turn.
I'll do one next week.
Let's take a call. We got Brian. His hand has been up. His arm is getting tired. He's been waving it. Oh, Mr. Cotta, for the last half hour while Leo blathers on. Brian, I'm welcoming you into the on-air room. Click that button that says, "Okay, I'll talk to these guys."
Whoa.
Look, whoa. He's dialing the dial. Brian, where are you calling from today? Don't touch me. Don't touch me. We can't hear Brian, but I'm sure there's something we can do to fix that.
Oh, Brian's switching.
He's doing something.
This is the other thing.
This is why we wanted to use the phone generally, because we know your microphone works. We know your camera works, and generally your microphone's on.
Yeah, AirPods can kind of get in the way of that sometimes.
Oh, is he using AirPods?
I think I see an AirPod in the
So
right
mad.
ear.
We went on vacation during the holidays, went to Mexico to the beach. I forgot my AirPods. I was so upset.
You didn't have anything on the plane?
Well, fortunately, I carry 3 sets of earbuds with me at all times. When we got home, we pulled into the garage, and there were my AirPods on the floor in the garage. They'd been in my pocket.
Oh, no.
They
So you
fell out.
did have them.
I didn't forget them. They just fell out of my pocket. Scott Wilkinson's coming up. We're going to talk about TVs and audio video from CES.
Yeah, time for CES.
Just a little bit. Later on today, we're also going to talk to Chris Marquardt. He is going to give you an assignment.
I'm so excited we're
great.
keeping that going.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
I've been looking at that Flickr page for ages now and just going, ooh, ee.
So what should I do with Brian? Are we going to get this working or no? Should I move him back in the lobby while he fixes it? Let's do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to move him into post air. And then I think this would be a good time to talk to Scott Wilkinson, who is on the line.
I dig it.
Hello, Scott Wilkinson, home theater.
Hello,
geek.
Leo.
Yay!
Hello, Mikah.
Hello, Scott.
Welcome back to the Tech Guys.
Thank you. It's so nice to be back. I hope you guys had a good holiday.
We did. I know you got kind of sick over the holiday, and I'm sorry.
Oh, I got so sick. That was the worst I've been sick in many years.
And you didn't even go
sick,
to
in
CES.
fact, I decided I was going to skip CES because I was getting better by then. But, it's an international petri dish, and I really didn't want to expose myself.
Yeah. But the good news is you have friends and like Mike Heiss, who did go, and you keeping track of all the press releases. And, of course, you have friends with all the manufacturers. So you know what happened. Now, last year CES was a big deal because we saw for the first time the QOLEDs, which is that right? Am I saying
QD OLED.
QD OLEDs. I felt like
QD OLED, quantum dot OLED. Right.
And those
that was the first major TV technology advancement in many years.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was
like
curious
that this year. Yeah.
Well, not revolutionary like that. I would say evolutionary. One of the most important things I was looking for was, is someone going to bring out a larger QD OLED? Because last year, the only sizes available from Samsung and Sony, who are the two companies that brought them out for consumers, were 55-inch and 65-inch. And as I've heard a number of people say, 65-inch is the new 42-inch.
Oh, wow.
You know, people are buying bigger TVs. And
this is always, was
I
the hardest thing to explain to, I won't keep doing this, but I apologize, but the older folks who listen to the radio,
the older folks like us.
We're old, and we remember that a 32-inch Sony Trinitron was massive.
That was huge.
It was massive.
Yeah.
Partly because it was massive. It weighed 50 pounds.
Well, yeah.
100 pounds. But with flat screen
300
TVs,
pounds. Yeah.
With flat screen TVs, they're thinner and lighter, and you want the movie theater experience. You definitely want it bigger. Would you say 50? You just said it. I think 55 is the minimum, right?
Yeah, it is.
Unless you're watching in the bathroom. Or some like a classic.
Or the kitchen or something. Yeah. 55 is kind of the minimum, and 65 is now kind of a pretty standard smaller size. Although, so I really was curious to see if someone was going to bring out a bigger one, and Samsung did. They have now a 77-inch. So that's great. Now, I will tell you this, virtually all of the announcements of new TVs and products at CES, there's no mention of price and there's no mention of availability. So, sometime in the spring or summer for some amount of money.
This is one of the things I don't like about CES. In fact, TVs isn't the case, but a lot of times the products you see at CES will never come out, right?
That's true. That is true.
And it's really become the Gizmo Expo, where it's just a lot of stuff that the local TV people go crazy over, but isn't really significant. But AV is a little different. Cars and AV, I think we see some significant products.
We tend to see more of them actually come to fruition, right? Although I will say, in general, CES this year, the presence of televisions in the booths that we would expect them in, LG, Sony, Samsung, they were much less. Sony had none.
What?
They made no TV announcements whatsoever.
Their big announcement
CES.
was a car venture with Honda, the Afeela.
With Honda,
and they're putting a PS5 in a car, but no TVs.
That's right.
Now, what does that mean to you?
TVs at
Does
all.
that mean they didn't think CES was a good place to do this, or that they really are getting out of the TV business?
Oh, no. They're not getting out of the TV business. I think what it means is they want to have those announcements to themselves.
Yeah.
They're going to make those announcements in the spring. Maybe with a line show. Remember line shows?
Yeah.
Each of the manufacturers in the past, in the deep past, used to have their own announcements at their own event. And they would actually bring journalists. I went on, 5 or 6 trips to Mitsubishi and Sony and Samsung and LG in a year, and they announced their own products. Well, we're not going to see that anymore. It's going to be online. It's going to be by Zoom or whatever.
So really the pandemic gave us new patterns, and even though it's not as much of a problem, those patterns are going to stick. And I think that just means CES is going to be more of a gadget expo than ever.
Yeah.
Because
yes, and automotive. Automotive was huge.
Yeah. There is a big automotive show, Semitech, that every year in Vegas. So, and then of course there's the big auto shows like the Detroit Auto Show. We'll have to ask Sam what he thinks CES holds for future. But yeah, there was a big, what was it? The North Hall was full, or the West Hall was full.
It's actually they now have a West Hall.
Yeah.
That was mostly automotive. And interestingly, the South Hall of the convention center was empty. There's nobody there.
That's interesting.
So the show was smaller.
CES was
stats
touting a surprisingly large number of attendees. What, 118,000?
115, 118,000.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic, it used to be 180,000.
Yeah. It was too crowded. Stacy showed us.
Which was too crowded.
Stacy on Sunday, Stacy Higginbotham showed us some of her pictures of empty halls. And the center hall, which is where you go into the main TV area. Usually you can't.
Right,
it's like this. You can't move. And there was a lot of space. So maybe there were a lot of people like you who thought, maybe it's better to wait another year or two.
Maybe it's better not to, right? Now, I said that some of the LG had fewer TVs in their booth. Sony had none. Samsung had fewer. The two exceptions to that were Hisense and TCL. They apparently went all in on TVs.
The Chinese manufacturers.
Correct. And, they're doing some great stuff. They really are.
You know what I thought was interesting? Roku announced, one of the things TCL has done very well with is TVs with Roku built in. Roku announced they're going to do their own TVs now.
I thought that's right. Interesting as well.
What do you think of that, Scott?
Very interesting.
Are they making them? Do we know who's making them?
No, I'm sure it's probably TCL or Hisense.
Yeah.
TCL has a panel manufacturing arm like Samsung and LG do.
We should say that's the dirty little secret of all of this is there are only a handful of panel manufacturers. Companies just
correct. So LG Display is what it's called.
Yeah.
Samsung Display make these panels and then sell them to their electronics division, their consumer division, and also to other companies.
Yeah.
TCL has one as well. And so we don't know. They have not announced who's going to actually make the Roku panels. But, it's going to be probably, I would say, one of the Chinese. Well, they're all made in China. But, it's probably TCL or Hisense.
I'm a little nervous about the idea of a Roku TV only because I like the idea of having my connection to the internet external from the TV.
Absolutely.
So, I agree with you.
Yeah, I don't want the TV spying on me.
Can I tell you, just the other day, I temporarily connected my television just to give it a firmware update. And in that period of time, I looked in my app for my router, and there were 15,000 ad blocks that had taken place from that television, from it trying to connect.
Just from a brief connection.
Just for a brief connection, 15,000.
I'm sure Roku's doing something similar, but at least it's constrained to the Roku.
This is the TCL Roku TV that I had. And so, it's just...
Right.
But yeah, as
I
you're
also
saying,
worry if it breaks. I also worry if it breaks that I want to be able to just...
which part is broken.
Yeah, exactly. So...
Right. It
also...
No, I agree with you.
I got it
100%.
for my mom, and as I've mentioned before, because it was easier, right? She doesn't have to learn a Roku remote and a TV remote. That's the sole benefit to that. Now, Scott, we're going to probably get you back before the Super Bowl, because that's a month out. But this would be a good time to buy a TV, is that right? Because of the Super Bowl? Is this when the big buying season begins?
Yeah. Black Friday is one good time. Super Bowl, prior to the Super Bowl, is another good time.
Yeah.
And I think the Super Bowl is probably a better time than Black Friday even because they want to dump their 2022 inventory and get ready for the 2023 models.
Well, and you've told us something important, which is
that
that 2023 isn't a big leap ahead over 2022. So you're going to probably get...
It isn't.
Yeah, you're probably going to get a pretty good TV, even though it's last year's.
Oh, no question.
Yeah. And the other thing that's changed is Fox is broadcasting all of the postseason games in 4K HDR.
I don't watch football, so I don't think I was even aware of that.
The Puppy Bowl is not. I'm sorry, Scott. Bad news.
I'm bummed. The Puppy Bowl is not in 4K HDR.
I haven't figured that out yet. And as you mentioned last year, and they're doing it again this year, what Fox is doing, although they said trucks are getting freed up, so they're getting better and better. They're still shooting 1080p and upscaling it.
And then up-converting it.
Yeah, their upscalers are very good. But this new thing is HDR, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if there's...
Really good. And I wonder which format of HDR they're using.
Yeah,
probably HDR10, maybe HLG.
Yeah.
I think there was a recent game, maybe the World Cup, I think was using Dolby Vision for the first time. In a live broadcast.
Redacted in our IRC says, I only buy a new TV when my team is in the Super Bowl, and since I'm a Detroit Lions fan, I still have a 13-inch TV. I'm sorry, Redacted. From Scooter X in our IRC, LG issues recall of 50, talking about big screen TVs, 52,000 TVs due to their serious tip-over hazards. These are the 86 inch TVs. They're a little top heavy.
Yep.
I
That's
guess.
terrifying,
They
actually.
need better
I just saw
stands.
that. I just saw that today. Yep.
Wow. Wow.
Exactly. Because of a tip over.
There's an easy way to fix that, and I do this with anything that could tip over. Strap it. Here we live
That's
in
right.
We live in earthquake country.
You want to do that anyway here in
I got
California.
my bookshelves,
absolutely.
my water heater, everything's strapped to the wall, and you probably should do that with your
That's
TV
right.
too. Yeah.
That's you really want to do that.
Would be bad.
Hey,
if it
did you
fell
guys
over.
did you guys see the notice about this displaced TV?
No, what's that?
Oh, I did. I saw
this
some
is-
stuff about it. Yes. Tell us more about it, though.
This is really something. This is a 55-inch TV from a company called Displace, completely wireless, no wires whatsoever. The power is supplied by 4 lithium-ion batteries that are supposed to give you, 20 hours or something before you have to plug them in to recharge them. But basically, this is a flat panel TV. It's got basically a vacuum suction system that you can just clunk it up onto virtually any surface, not brick, but like drywall or something.
So you stick it to the wall?
You stick it to the wall, and it sticks to the wall, and there's no wires coming out of it at all. It gets its. There you go.
I saw all this attention for wireless TV. I'm not sure I really understand why you would want wireless TV.
Well, because if you mount a TV on your wall, do you
it's
really
so
want
ugly to have a
wires
cord
dangling
coming
from
out
it?
of it.
I mean,
So
I do
ugly.
agree with that. I agree.
All right.
I do. But I don't know.
I don't want my
a lot.
HDMI signal going wirelessly. I'm sorry. Remember, now maybe that's because I
Well,
have
I don't know how-
PTSD from the old days of wireless HDMI. Is it better?
Right. I'm sure it is. I am in the process of investigating exactly how they do it.
Yeah.
LG also announced a wireless TV, not wireless power, not battery powered, but it's like a 93-inch OLED TV that beams its signals from a little box. And so you connect your streaming device and your game console and all your stuff to this little box, and then it beams wirelessly the signal to the TV.
I'm not sure I'm gonna.
And
I think if you can wire it. I don't even have Wi-Fi on my devices. I have
Right,
them
if
all
you can wire it,
Ethernetted in.
Right.
Anyway.
I don't mind
Well,
the
according to-
wires if you can do them in the wall.
How does the power go
show.
wirelessly? I don't understand that. Is it a
well,
battery?
it doesn't. And on this LG, it doesn't.
So
on
you
the
still have a
displays, it
cord
does.
coming out of it.
No, not on the displays.
Oh. What are they, battery
On the
powered?
displays,
Yeah.
it's battery powered.
I don't want to
Exactly.
charge my
your
TV.
Yeah.
This is a very narrow market. But this is my point exactly about CES, which is it's kind of gimmicky.
Yeah.
That's a gimmick.
It is.
Yeah,
a gimmick.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
look
Most
at the
people thought
demo
the
of them
display TV
taking
was
off the
gimmicky.
wall.
Yeah.
That's a demo.
That's a gimmick. And you know what? The other
Yeah.
one.
And what happens when the battery?
Yeah.
What happens when the battery runs
middle
out?
of the Super
it falls
Bowl.
off the wall.
What? The suction cups are battery powered?
Yes.
Oh wait, you're not kidding. Oh,
I'm not kidding.
Okay, that's a strong
The
do not
suction
buy.
cups are battery powered.
No, it's a strong do not buy. You know what happens? That means you're going to leave it plugged in all the
Yeah,
time. So
exactly.
guess what? Your wireless
Yeah.
TV just got wired. Scott Wilkinson, we love you. Still doing the podcast at AVS Forum, right?
Yep.
YouTube.com.
A lot more information about CES.
I bet. Yeah, we just wanted a little toe in, and I
taste.
appreciate that. YouTube.com/AVS Forum. We will have you back talk about the Best Buys in TVs the week before the Super Bowl. So plan on
For
that.
the Super
okay?
Bowl, you bet.
Yes,
Look
yes.
forward to it.
Really
Yeah.
appreciate it, Scott. Always a pleasure.
bet. Thank
I'm
you.
also happy because I think a lot of people were worried we would lose Scott and Chris and all the, Sam, all the people that we love from the radio show. No, we're not going to lose anybody. I promise you. We love them all. Thank you, Scotty.
Yay.
thanks, Scott.
I'm glad you're
You
feeling
bet.
better. Take care.
Thanks.
Scott Wilkinson, home theater geek. I miss the ads on the radio show. I feel like this is just a
chance to-
lot of stuff
It just keeps going.
strung together. So let me do an ad.
All right.
There's only one, so don't worry. In radio, we had 19 minutes. The legal limit was 19 minutes of ads an hour, and we played every one of those minutes.
Up to the millisecond.
We have a rule on TWiT that no more than one per half hour. So a show like this, no more than 3 ads. Mm-hmm. Okay, my promise to you. Now, of course, our ads are better because they're products we know about and we love and we recommend to you, like Melissa. Melissa, you've heard me talk about, is a leading provider of data quality, global data quality. What does that mean? It means if you've got an address list, customers, suppliers, very important, right? The addresses, if they're wrong, you're sending mail to the wrong address. The email's wrong, the phone number's wrong, the name's wrong. You could embarrass yourself talking to them. This is really important. But here's the true fact. It's going bad right now. As you sleep, it's always going bad. You need Melissa to keep your addresses up to date. They also do identity verification. They are really good at this stuff. If you're curious as to how data quality will impact your cost in a business, Melissa has an ROI calculator that gives you information related to marketing and customer outreach that could be strained, not just by increasing costs and inflation, but by bad email addresses. One of their sample scenarios highlights a mailing list, 50,000 recipients. Over time, this decays, as many as 6,500 recipients undeliverable. I bet you that's not, off base, 12%. Using Melissa's address verification to remove bad addresses could save you on that database $23,000 on postage and material costs. If you're sending brochures and bills to the wrong address, it's costing you. Poor data quality costs organizations an average of $15 million a year. And of course, the longer it stays in your system, the worse it gets. Melissa has tools. Take a look at their solutions catalog. It's great. They've got tools that can help you in your business. They support using it on-prem, in the cloud. They have a SaaS solution. They even have a secure FTP site you can upload data to and download it cleaned up. Of course, they've got a great API, which means you can add Melissa's address verification to your customer intake, to your your sales system, to everywhere. Melissa's technologies will enable faster workflows. Their auto-completion tools stop data mistakes at the door while you're keying it in, whether it's your customer or your sales rep. It'll reduce undeliverable mail based on validated, standardized addresses using postal services all over the world, so every address is what that postal service wants. Eliminate waste, eliminate lost opportunities from mailing something to the wrong person, and also it really has to do with customer satisfaction. Those and frauds, you can eliminate fraud with seamless real-time identity verification tools. Plus, they've got matching and deduplication, which will mean that, if you've got 15 entries for the same customer and you're sending them 15 brochures, that's got to stop. You'll have a single high-quality customer record linking all the customers' USPS, their move update system, so you get the most current address through processing in the Postal Service's National Change of Address database. That's just one of many data sources Melissa uses. They've been doing this since 1985. I mean, they really know this business. They have specialized in global intelligence solutions. And if you're worried about giving them your data, don't worry. They undergo continuous security audits by independent entities to make sure that your data is safe, secure, private, and compliant. They're SOC 2, HIPAA, GDPR compliant. Your data really is safe. Make sure your customer contact data is up to date. Get started today with 1,000 records clean for free. Melissa.com/twit, MELISSA, Melissa.com/twit. We love these guys. They've been with us for a long time, and they've really helped a lot of people. Thank you, Melissa, for supporting Ask the Tech Guys. And you support us, by the way, when you use that address, Melissa.com/twit. All right, I want to give Brian a second chance. I have his question in text here. I've invited you into the on-air room, Brian. Let's see if we can get the audio working. And we have many calls, actually. I want to get through some.
Yes, quite a few calls.
A pile of calls if we can. A lot of hands raised. Poor people with their arms in the air. Me. Brian, can you hear us? We're not hearing him. All right. Not a problem, Brian, because he's texted me his question. So I have a backup here. He says, my question is, the M series iPads with Stage Manager, he's using this 16.2 iOS. This is for you, Mikah. He's using an external monitor using his MacBook Air. So I guess he wants his iPad as an external monitor. He's interested in basic computer functions, web browsing, word processing. He's in a master's program, but all his coursework is online and cloud-based, Google Docs, Office 365. So, what do you think about using the Stage Manager, the MacBook Air? He's saying, okay, this is similar to a question we had last week. Let me reinterpret this. He says versus a MacBook Air. Didn't he ask this last week? Is this the same one?
This is a very similar question. I don't know if it's the same person, but certainly.
Like we answered this once.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, it depends on what you're doing, obviously. I think the high-end iPad Pro is very similar in its capability to what a MacBook can give you, but I have to say, I'm just more of a laptop person
I am
in general.
too.
So
that's what we said last week. It's iOS versus macOS, and you have to decide what you like.
Exactly.
Good rumor, though. Did you see the rumor?
Yeah, a touchscreen Mac
in 2025.
I'll be somewhat surprised if that happens because
it was from Gurman, I think.
Yeah, it was Gurman.
So he's a reliable source.
It's just they've talked for years about how that was never a thing they would do.
This is what I think is really interesting about Apple. They've kind of culturally, they've started stepping farther away from this Steve Jobs my way or the highway attitude. They're looking at what people want. I don't know.
What do they call it? Ape wrist or something?
Well,
Steve
it's funny
had a term
because I have a touch screen in front of me right now. This is a Lenovo ThinkPad Extreme. I haven't touched it once during the show anyway, because I always forget A, and B, it's ape reach. You gotta reach out. It's so much easier. You got a mouse here. Just so much easier to do it that
That's why I go to my Mac, because I like the pointer control and the keyboard and all of that stuff. I don't like touching on the screen.
Brian, I'm sorry we couldn't make it work. We'll work it out. But again, this is why I do want to encourage people whenever possible, use your phone. Don't get fancy on us. It works pretty well. We got Guy. I think Guy wants to join. You want to join, Guy? I see you moving. That's a good start. Let me add you to the on-air. Yeah, he's waving at us. Okay, so you're going to see a little pop-up that says join. We'll get this working. That's one of the things the phone has a bit of an advantage. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the show, Mr. Guy. Where are you calling from? Unmute your mic.
How about this now?
Yay!
Yeah!
Fireworks.
Oh, wait a minute now. Is that a Georgia jersey he's got on the wall there?
No, it's Oklahoma Sooners.
Oklahoma.
And my Oklahoma Sooners, Boomer Sooners.
Boomer!
Sorry.
That's
sorry,
okay. Ant's sitting right across from me in Clemson orange, but he says it's
thumbs
okay.
Up. You got thumbs up.
He says it's okay. The Sooners are good. Welcome.
All right. Well, hey. I had a question.
I take it you're calling from Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, indeed, and
nice.
Everything. Yes, sir. I'd say this is the next best thing to come into the studio, since the studio has been locked down for quite some time. Yeah. So I hope that changes soon so I can say hi to you and everything. But I wanted to ask you this. I'm a tech nerd. I've loved technology and stuff like that. But my thing is that I have always been an iPhone person, and I like the advances that iPhone does with their mobileware and stuff like that. But I also am intrigued by the Pixel, Google going all in on their phones and stuff like that. And I like to dab into that. So I got a Pixel phone that I play with and everything. But the thing that keeps me fully from the Google Pixel is the watch thing. Mm-hmm. And my thing is that I'd like to see Pixel make a great watch. Now, it really didn't jive with their watch because it was basically, sorry, Google, a Fitbit on your hand and everything like that. But, I was kind of wondering if you guys had any suggestions for comparable watches that would work with a Pixel. I've looked at TechWatch and other things, but I kind of like to get your information on that.
What are you wearing, Mikah?
An Apple Watch Ultra, which is what you're wearing too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's anything that comes even close to the Apple Watch. I have I think the Samsungs are pretty nice. I don't have a Pixel Watch. I have some concerns about the Pixel Watch. One is I've heard a number of people complaining because the bezel on that sticks up and over the watch. And I've heard a lot of people say I broke my crystal because it's just
because of the domed crystal.
The nice thing about the Ultra is that the edge is actually the metal edge sticks up a little bit over the crystal. And I just don't think the features come even close.
No.
Do you have both an iPhone and a Pixel? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I have an Apple Watch Ultra that I wear.
Oh, Guy, you're already there, man. You're already there.
Well, yeah,
you're just trying to be fair to the Pixel. Is that what you're saying?
I've been toying around with the Osmo and everything today. So,
I love the Osmo.
Working my iPhone. It's
for those who don't know, he's holding
gimbal.
it up. But if you're listening, that's the gimbal that's made by the DJI folks that holds a phone and really does a good job. Look at that.
Yeah.
And in the early days of gimbos, you had gimbos. Hello, gimbos. In the early days, I think we've had a name now for Ask the Tech Guy listeners here.
Yes.
Gimbos. In the early days, you had to do a lot of balancing and getting it all working and everything.
Yeah,
like
you
that.
put weights on it and everything.
Nowadays, they just boom, zip, 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 it's ready. Love that. Anyway,
now the closest thing I've been able to use is a Samsung smartwatch. Just to
that's the
test it out
closest.
and
I
give it
agree.
in.
I think they're not bad. Especially now that they've embraced Wear. Remember, Samsung initially used Tizen, their own operating system.
Oh, that's right.
And it was limited because there were a limited number of Tizen apps. But now that it's also, I'm kind of unclear. Is it a Wear watch using Android Wear that has some Tizen stuff, or is it a Tizen watch that has compatibility with Android Wear? I've never really figured that out. I'll have to ask Jason Howell. Yeah, that's the best, I think. Like I said, I haven't tried the Pixel Watch. But I think right now the Galaxies are really the best.
And it's telling that you have people asking who are going, so is there one that's good? Because he's got the one that is the best. And
you got the Ultra,
that
dude.
Isn't even, but I mean, on the Samsung side, if the one that you have is the Samsung side, you're going, is there something that's better than this? And we're going, no, there really isn't. Unfortunately, I wonder part of it is the thing that we do complain about with Apple, the closed off, the walled garden, the deep integration that makes it so that I can't use my Apple Watch with an Android device. But at the same time, because it is closed off, there is this really good experience. And it's why people really like their Apple Watches because of everything that it can do. And I don't know, I'm holding out hope that somebody figures it out on the Android side, but that open nature, I think, makes it difficult to come up with a watch that's going to work with all the different devices that are there and try to match or surpass what Apple has done.
Really is a great question, is why Android watches have failed. Partly because Google didn't really embrace it. This Pixel's their very first watch.
Right.
And I have to think that what really happened is that Apple got a lead and then just expanded it. They have the money and the manpower to put a lot of research into these watches. So, for instance, one of the things I use my watch for is my exercise, right? And the Samsung's pretty good. It will notice that you're walking, not as well as often as the Apple Watch, which will say, you look like you're taking a walk. You want me to record that? I think the Apple Watch has a much broader range of exercises that it understands because Apple brings in people and they have them row and they say, what does that look like on the watch? There's also features, Samsung is pretty close. They're trying to do, they have fall protection. They have a lot of the same basic features, but in almost every case, I feel like Apple has put more thought into it. The heart rate monitor is much more accurate on the Apple Watch than it is even on the Fitbit, and on and on and on.
I think part of that, Apple doesn't make refrigerators or washers and dryers or run an online video platform.
They are focused, aren't they?
They're so much more focused than Google and Samsung, respectively.
Dr. Mom in our IRC says the Pixel Watch does notice her exercise just fine, and so does the Samsung. But I don't know. I feel like it's close, but no cigar.
There you go.
So you got the Ultra. I really honor the fact, what's great about you is that you are willing to and interested in expanding your horizon. Most Apple people just say, well, I got Apple. I don't, what do I need?
Well, that's why people call me for tech support.
There you go.
He says, "God, you know both of the things and stuff. So, you tinker with that, and say, how can you fix that?"
And that's why I use both too. Yeah. That's why I'm sitting in front of a Windows machine.
One more thing, since ATS 3.0 is coming out for cord cutters, which I am a big one and everything. I'd love to see more talk about cord cutters on TWiT.
Good. Are you a cord cutter, Mikah?
Yeah.
All right, we got a cord cutter here. I am about to journey into the cord cutter realm.
Really?
Yeah. So that definitely we're gonna,
I would love to hear
more
more about that. Yeah.
Thank you for inviting us into the Sooners fan cave.
Boomer Sooner.
Go
Woo,
Sooners!
number one.
How did they do this year? That's why Ant doesn't mind. Now I understand. Ant says that's fine.
I love my Sooners.
Yeah, no,
Sooners.
You're not a fan if you only love a team when they're on top, right? That's not.
That is correct.
That's not.
That is
fan.
correct.
That's a fair weather fan. Guy, great to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us on Ask the Tech Guys. Tech Guys 2. We do have, speaking of Jason Howell, in just a bit we're going to talk to Jason. You had a question.
I'll do a little demo, and then Jason will join us to answer from the Android side of things.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, I have some machinations to do here. I have to, when I move somebody into the on-air, then I have to stage them out of on-air, shoo them away into
it's like
two
the hook,
separate rooms. It's very complicated. I see some hands raised. Shall we try? Let's see. First of all, there was a question in the Discord. I did want to mention this because I thought it was kind of provocative.
It says, how dare you?
Yes. How dare you? Tim. He's also on the Zoom line. My Zoom crashed. Oh, sorry. But he wanted to ask about, and that's an interesting question, does ChatGPT, Stable Diffusion, all of these new AI tools, are they going to generate more jobs than they cost?
How are they going to generate jobs?
I think the only jobs will be for people writing ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I think this is actually an interesting question because for more than a decade, maybe 2 or 3 decades, all the economic experts have been saying there's going to be a massive displacement because technology is going to take away so many jobs. There are going to be so many people out of work. There was concern, severe concern about this, and a lot of conversation about it about a decade ago. I remember Mark Andreessen, the creator of Netscape, and he's now a venture capitalist, response was, well, it's fine because all of the technology is going to make so much extra value at such a low cost that no one will have to work. We'll all just be rich.
Universal basic income. Right?
Well, it would require something like that, right? He was a lot of hand waving.
Right.
but we won't have to work because we're not there yet. But what's interesting is we aren't in that high unemployment state either. Unemployment is actually at a record low. So is that, it's hard to say. Are we still at are we at the infancy of technology taking jobs? I don't know. I mean, there's no burger flipper jobs, no robots flipping burgers as much as Domino's would like to. So far, there are, people are still working in warehouses.
I think the closest thing right now are freelancers, freelance writers, because we just saw CNET revealed that they are doing
articles.
Since some
November.
Articles. Yeah, so those are AI generated. But it's interesting because that has been a long time going in sports betting articles and in investment. AI has been writing articles for a long time for those categories. So it's not new, but I do think about, some of my friends who do freelance tech writing who may not get the gig to write the very boring piece that's a step-by-step article. And I do wonder if in that case it loses some jobs. I mean, I guess there will be some job growth in the market that specifically detects if a college student has written an essay using ChatGPT.
Yeah.
There are engineers being hired right now, I'm sure, for that. But outside, I'm trying to think of how this creates jobs other than I type into ChatGPT, create some jobs for me, and then it comes up with some answers.
ChatGPT makes a lot of mistakes. Great article by Stephen Wolfram of Wolfram Alpha
Ooh.
About how Wolfram could be used to fix a lot of those technical mistakes that ChatGPT makes. I also saw a tweet, which I really liked, that said, ChatGPT is just the latest version of mansplaining. a somewhat condescending person or thing explaining something in trivial ways as if they were the expert. I think that's right.
That's really good because one day I asked it, why am I having so many issues being able to talk to you? And it said that it was my fault.
Yeah, it's mansplaining.
That's your internet connection. You need to work on it.
We're going to have to create a new term, AI-splaining. Andrew in our Discord says, I'm a traffic signal tech, and that role has changed from the older generation of, mounting signals, running cable, running wire. He says, now I'm doing networking, data troubleshooting, scripts, video vehicle presence detection. It's all software, right? I think AI will actually expand and change non-technical ones to technical ones. So that may be in fact what the original question was, is, how are jobs going to change? AI is, we still need people who are going to use their bodies to work, labor, right? That's not going to go away. Robots aren't going to take your burger flipping job or your ditch digging job. I wish they would. Those are the jobs we want them to take.
Yes. Right? Yeah. Let us do the fun and creative things. Yeah. But no, AI is doing the fun and creative things.
Damn you.
Darn it.
They're taking all the mansplaining away.
Who am I going to mansplain to now?
All right. I am going to attempt once again.
Oh, boy.
Let's see how it works to get somebody in here. I don't know what the order is. I never was able to get the answer to this of the people at the top of the screen, but I'm just going to do them in order as if somehow magically they are being prioritized chronologically. So that means we're going to Las Vegas.
Woo! Viva.
Viva Las Vegas. We're going to say hi to Kevin. There he is. He's got his iWorld shirt. I live in an iWorld.
Yeah.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, can you hear me?
We hear you
yes,
great. It's working.
Great.
It's magic.
That's great. Yeah, just a few quick hits. I mean, I originally was in the Bay Area. I was a working musician at several different jobs and retired about a year and a half ago to Las Vegas. So I've been here for a little while, enjoying the heat. And I had jobs up there as a musician, working as a musical theater accompanist.
Ant, your man. He's your man. He's a musical theater accompanist. Do you do that? You do that in Vegas now?
Well, I've gotten a few church jobs actually here part time.
Nice.
So I've been working at the cathedral here, which is right next to Wynn on the Strip.
You got your cathedral to commerce, and you got your cathedral
I hope
to
you can see me well. I'm using my iPhone XS.
It works great. See, this is why I wanted people to use their phones. Look how good this is.
Yeah.
Look how quickly your audio worked. I feel like this is the ideal way to do it if your phone doesn't crash.
But what I wanted to say was a few weeks ago when you were on the radio show, you had mentioned about the copyrights had been expiring, and you mentioned Tom Lear had released his copyrights.
Yes.
And one of the shows I did when I was up in the Bay Area was for Coastal Repertory in Half Moon Bay, and I did a show called Tomfoolery.
Oh, yes.
Which is, I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
Great review show.
Of his music.
And it was just a hoot to do. And I first got, again, this is going to date me, I first got introduced to Tom Lear through the Dr. Demento show.
Yes.
If you remember. Is Dr.
Demento not doing it anymore? I think he is. Isn't he still doing it?
I haven't kept up. It was back in the 70s.
I know. He's been doing this forever. He was the king of novelty songs. Fish heads, roly-poly fish heads, right?
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. So there's some before Weird Al.
Yeah, but I think Dr. Demento actually put Weird Al on the map. He was the instrumental. Yeah. But Tom Lehrer certainly predated Weird Al and was in some respects an inspiration. Somebody look up to see if Dr. Demento is still with us. I think he is.
Yeah. I have to thank you again for all your advice when I was calling about changing, because I had a 2008 cheese grater Mac.
Yes.
I changed to the Mac Studio Max.
How do you like it? I remember you now. Yes, I remember. Yes, Kevin.
It's humming along, and I'm glad you talked me down off the ledge of getting the Apple display. I got a Dell display for like about a third of the price.
Good.
And it's wonderful. It's a great. The good thing about this one is it has so many ports. So I replaced the hub that I was using. And it's working wonderfully. It's 4K, but it's still, a great monitor.
I have so many issues with the Apple
studio,
display.
the
Yeah,
studio
I have
display.
to unplug it to reboot it all the time because of the audio.
It's a
Or
computer.
It's got audio issues.
That's exactly what a display should not be. So good job on picking the Dell, Kevin. And I think good job on picking the Studio. I really wonder whether Apple's going to have anything to compete with that Studio this year. Mark Gurman's saying that Apple is going to really slow down its Mac releases. And this really bothers me. We talked about it Tuesday on MacBreak Weekly. He's of the impression that Apple's transferring engineers from other divisions, including iPad and Mac, to work on this goofy VR thing. They're putting all their eggs in this VR basket. They say, this is the future. We think, we really got to put our best people on this. That disturbs me because I don't think that's going anywhere. But the good news is that Mac Studio is about as good a Mac as I've ever used. I think it should last you at least as long as that old cheese grater lasted you, if not longer. And it's faster, isn't it?
Oh, it's tremendous. And I'm starting to use play with Logic Pro and some other apps that I kind of neglected when I was working full time. Now that I have the time to kind of do it on my own and play with it, I'm getting into that, and it's definitely really speedy. I'm waiting. I can't wait to start using a little bit of the video editing.
Nice.
And see what happens with that. Because
Kevin,
I'm sure
your retirement is pretty active.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. musicians never really retire.
You're a pianist?
Pianist, organist. Was a music director at a church up in the Bay Area. I'm doing that part-time now. Some masses I've played at the Catholic Cathedral.
Nice.
I was a piano teacher. I did musical theater shows locally and through the high school, or I was an accompanist for the choral groups at Aragon High School in San Mateo. So I was working 75 or 80 hours a week, but loving it.
Well, I understand why you call this retirement. You're only working 60 or 70 hours.
Yeah, I can pick and choose now, which is really nice. And just to prove to you, I actually am in Vegas. There we go. The Bellagio.
Yay, that's the hotel we're staying at this fall for the F1 race.
Yeah.
So we are, I accidentally I disconnected him.
Bye.
I had my finger. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
I had my finger over the button and it just
twitched down.
Whoops. I'm sorry, Kevin. I apologize. That's where Podcast Expo is going to be next month.
Oh, okay.
I told Lisa, she said, we have to go. We have to try to find some advertisers. I said, okay, good. So she and the sales team are going. I think it's March, not February. And I said, she said, you just come out and be my plus one. You can just, stay in the room, get your hair did, your nails, I said, fine. That's good. That's good for me. All right, Gary's been very, very patient. Gary, you're a patient fellow. I'm going to push the buttons here. Try not to hang up on you prematurely. I'm moving you into on air. Kevin, thank you. I'm sorry I hung up. I apologize. I screwed up, Kevin. Gary, where are you calling from, Mr. Gary? What's going on? What's going on? He's not muted.
I see a headset, not a phone.
I see a headset, not a phone.
Is it possible that is the problem?
We need maybe Kevin could come be our accompanist.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you, Gary. Welcome.
All right. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
I'm the Gary from Discord, Rockford, Illinois.
I
Discord,
see you
Gary.
right now. I'm looking at your name. 2 R's.
2 R's, Gary. Okay.
2 R's, yeah.
Welcome.
So
and thanks, by the way.
Thank you.
Thanks for being a Club TWiT member.
Yes.
That makes a
big
difference to us. It really does.
No problem. Thank you so much. I had some health scares in October and November and December, but things are getting better, though. I had a blood infection and then a blood clot in my legs.
Word.
Yeah.
Are you the one who said I shouldn't be sitting on my leg?
Yeah, no, I'm like...
No, I did not, but...
blood flow.
Yeah.
We're going to do the blood flow segment in just a bit. We're going to make Mikah walk all the way over there. But first, what's your question, Gary?
So my question is about this LastPass thing. So I'm not able to actually go take and actually get back into, I'm trying to get back into my LastPass. So it says it needs to send something to my email to actually get logged in.
That's right.
Well, it's not allowing me to do that.
What do you mean?
It's not sending me a link to get back into.
You're pushing
my
the button. You give
account.
it the email address, and make sure you use that. By the way, the email address you provided as a recovery email address, which can be different than your login email. So that might be problem number one. And then
it's the same one.
So you push the button.
Recovery.
You push the button, and you don't get the email. Is that what happens?
Yep, I'm not getting the email.
Yikes!
I check in spam.
Yeah. Okay.
And I checked, and it's like I've done it several times, and I've done it, on different multiple computers, and it's not allowing me to get the reset button to reset the password.
And of course, you want to do that.
Can we ask you what email service you're using?
Gmail.
Okay.
Can I ask you what your master password is?
No.
Good. You answered that one right.
The reason I ask is because I have had this issue, a similar issue. Specifically, it was a two-factor via email, and it wasn't showing up for me, but it was not with Gmail. I think this is a case of needing to reach out to LastPass support.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. Especially with all these problems going on,
they're probably a little busy.
I'm afraid.
Right now.
I'm afraid with somebody has my
No, I'm sure that's not the case. I think it's I don't know. Again.
I'm being told that our own Patrick, who works on the website and does web engineering
Senor
stuff.
Senor Delahente. He has a great Spanish name, Delahente.
Had the same issue, had to contact support. Support said your password was, the encryption was borked and we need to redo this. And they did help him out. So.
Yeah, get a hold of support.
Get a hold of support.
Yeah, it sounds like they're having lots of problems. Golly.
All right.
Problems upon problems. What's probably, I'll be honest, Gary, what's probably happening is they are swamped right now with a lot of people saying, get me out of here. And I would say almost certainly that this is part of that problem is that, can you imagine how many?
Yeah, there are so many people.
Yeah. So,
and if they don't roll their own system there, then it's weighing down whatever server they're using to do that.
I feel bad. I loved LastPass. That was wasn't the first password manager. I used RoboForm AI for a long time before that, but it was the first one I really trusted. I really loved the company. I love Joe Segrist, the guy who created it. As you know, Steve Gibson became friends with him, and they went over all of how they're doing stuff, and Steve gave it his thumbs up. We were very, and they were a big advertiser in the pandemic. The first year of the pandemic, they sponsored the studio, as ACI Learning from IT Pro from ACI Learning is doing now. And that was a big help for us, especially when the early days of the pandemic, when everything was kind of shutting down. There you go. But they got sold a couple of times. I think they fired a lot of engineers. My guess is some of the people who really cared about security were gone. And at this point, is it a lost cause? No. What they need to do is not what they're doing.
That's what it
the
is.
problem.
Yep.
They need to make a full explanation of what happened, give us all the details, and then they need to go to somebody. This is what Zoom did. And Zoom wasn't anywhere near this, catastrophic a failure. Zoom just said they had end-to-end encryption when they didn't. But they went out and they got well-known experts in the crypto community, in the cryptography, and by the way, not cryptocurrency, but the cryptography community, to come in. Alex Stamos, we've had on Twig, who's wonderful, came in as a consultant, helped them do it right, reassured everybody that this is what LastPass needs to do at this point. And until they do that, they may well do that. I hope they would hurry and do that, because a lot of people are on the fence, probably saying that's a lot of work. I don't want to leave. Hey everybody, Leo Laporte here. I am the founder and one of the hosts at the TWiT podcast network. I want to talk to you a little bit about what we do here at TWiT, because I think it's unique, and I think for anybody who is bringing a product or a service to a tech audience, you need to know about what we do here at TWiT. We've built an amazing audience of engaged, intelligent, affluent listeners who listen to us and trust us when we recommend a product. Our mission statement as TWiT is to build a highly engaged community of tech enthusiasts. Well, already your ears should be perking up at that, because highly engaged is good for you. Tech enthusiasts, if that's who you're looking for, this is the place. We do it by offering them the knowledge they need to understand and use technology in today's world. And I hear from our audience all the time, part of that knowledge comes from our advertisers. We are very careful. We pick advertisers with great products, great services, with integrity, and introduce them to our audience with authenticity and genuine enthusiasm. And that makes our host-read ads different from anything else you can buy. We are literally bringing you to the attention of our audience and giving you a big, fat endorsement. We like to create partnerships with trusted brands who are in it for the long run, long-term partners that want to grow with us. And we have so many great success stories. Tim Broom, who founded IT Pro TV in 2013, started advertising with us on day one, has been with us ever since. He said, quote, "We would not be where we are today without the TWiT network." I think the proof is in the pudding. Advertisers like IT Pro TV and Audible that have been with us for more than 10 years, they stick around because their ads work. And honestly, isn't that why you're buying advertising? You get a lot with TWiT. We have a very full-service attitude. We almost think of it as kind of artisanal advertising, boutique advertising. You'll get a full-service continuity team. People who are on the phone with you, who are in touch with you, who support you with everything from copywriting to graphic design. So you are not alone in this. We embed our ads into the shows. They're not added later. They're part of the shows. In fact, often they're such a part of our shows that our other hosts will chime in on the ad saying, "Yeah, I love that." Or just the other day, one of our hosts said, "Man, I really got to buy that." That's an additional benefit to you because you're hearing people our audience trusts saying, "Yeah, that sounds great." We always over-deliver on impressions, so you know you're going to get the impressions you expect. The ads are unique every time. We don't pre-record them and roll them in. We are genuinely doing those ads in the middle of the show. We'll give you great onboarding services. Ad tech with pod sites, that's free for direct clients. Gives you a lot of reporting, gives you a great idea of how well your ads are working. You'll get courtesy commercials. You actually can take our ads and share them across social media and landing pages. That really extends the reach. There are other free goodies too, including mentions in our weekly newsletter that's sent to thousands of fans, engaged fans who really want to see this stuff. We give you bonus ads and social media promotion too. So if you want to be a long-term partner, introduce your product to a savvy, engaged tech audience. Visit twit.tv/advertise. Check out those testimonials. Mark McCrary is the CEO of Authentic. You probably know him, one of the biggest original podcast advertising companies. We've been with him for 16 years. Mark said the feedback from many advertisers over 16 years across a range of product categories, everything from razors to computers, is that if ads and podcasts are going to work for a brand, they're going to work on Twitch shows. I'm very proud of what we do because it's honest, it's got integrity, it's authentic, and it really is a great introduction to our audience of your brand. Our listeners are smart, they're engaged, they're tech savvy, they're dedicated to our network, and that's one of the reasons we only work with high integrity partners that we've personally and thoroughly vetted. I have absolute approval on everybody. If you've got a great product, I want to hear from you. Elevate your brand by reaching out today at advertise@twit.tv. Break out of the advertising norm. Grow your brand with host-read ads on twit.tv. Visit twit.tv/advertise for more details, or you can email us advertise@twit.tv if you're ready to launch your campaign now. I can't wait to see your product. So give us a ring. Richard Subaru. I have to ask Richard a question. Subaru is his chat handle. Known Richard for some time. And I'm just curious. I never thought about this. Press the button, Richard, and join us. Unmute. I'm just curious. Are you a Subaru owner?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now it
Sometimes
makes
chat
sense.
handles make sense.
Yeah, occasionally.
I still own my very first Subaru Forester of 1998.
Whoa.
And it runs like a clock.
Whoa.
We got Outback. I've had turbo Subarus and just about every model.
It gives you a good handle, actually. My handle is so boring. I want a better handle.
Yeah.
I need a better handle. But I didn't, you know, part of it's my age. Now you're.
Oh, I thought you were talking
close to
about
my
your
age.
username still.
I'm a month older than you, Leo.
Yeah. But younger people have good handles because they were on, AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh, you are talking. Okay. I'm so confused. For a second, I thought you meant
I'm not a
handling in a
teapot.
vehicle. And you were saying, I wish I had a better handle.
Handling. I wish I had better handling.
And your handling is so boring because your car just responds or doesn't respond.
No, I'm talking about your chat room handle. Chat room handle. And so what was your, as a kid, what was your handle?
Mine, I'm a boring old man. Mine has literally always been Mikah Sargent.
Me too. Although Chief Twit is pretty good. Till that other guy stole it.
Wait, I take it back. Way back in
when you were a little kid,
super young, I would have been, I don't know, 3rd, 4th grade. My grandpa and I set up an email for me so I could play Neopets online.
Yes, Neopets. That's what my daughter started. Yeah,
and it was toothless4now@yahoo.com.
That's cute because you were toothless.
Yeah.
See, and then a lot of people are still toothless for now in their 50s. Maybe they're going back to that. So, what's your question, Gary? I mean, Richard? Yeah. I'm a guy
email.
behind.
Currently
Email.
using Gmail.
Yeah.
Thinking of switching to Fastmail.
Our sponsor.
I would use Thunderbird on my Windows computers.
Fine. Mm-hmm. Good choice.
On the Macs, on the Apple stuff, what client aggregator software do you guys use?
That's a good question.
I love this question.
So Apple comes with, I think, a fairly good client called Mail. I wish the companies would come up with something better. It's like if they called Safari browser. So
they just have a boring handle.
Yeah. They need a better handle.
Yeah.
But I think Mail is pretty good, but neither of us use it.
No, I use 2 different mail applications. I'm strange in that on my iPhone, I use an application called Airmail, which I love because it's got so many integrations. You can do so many things with it. And on all of my macOS, my 2 macOS devices, the Studio and this Air, I use Spark. And the
Spark started as a iOS client.
Yes.
And became a Mac
client.
And didn't they were free at first and now they're charging, right?
Yes. Okay. And so you may have to pay depending on what features you want. The reason why I would use Airmail everywhere, but Airmail on the Mac is essentially just like a web wrapper. It's not. It doesn't work as natively. Client. Exactly. Yeah. And so that's why I use Spark there. But they both have so many great features that are very similar, and that's why I use those 2. I don't remember what you use. You like to do encrypted emails at times.
Well, Mail. In fact, when I just set up a new Mac, I got that Midnight Blue M2 that you have. I thought I should try Apple Mail again, and it's actually very competent. It does everything I need, including PGP signing, which is the key for me. But for a long time on my other systems, on my other Macs, I used a program called MailMate from Freerion. It's a single developer, MailMate. If you just Google MailMate, you'll find it very quickly. And I like it because it's a little clunky. Since you use Thunderbird, you'll feel right at home with it. Richard, because Thunderbird is also a little, old school, and MailMate's an old school mail program, but it does some things I really like. For instance, it has templates, really sophisticated templating systems, so that you can pre-template replies and new mails and so forth, and have that stuff automatically kind of started using. By the way, the templates will pull the name of the recipient from the email that you're responding to, things like that. So it really is it's kind of a nice tool. It uses PGP, but it also has a lot of plugins, a lot of capabilities. It isn't free either. It's not expensive, and I actually spend a little extra to support Freerun and his development of this because I think he's doing a good job. I think it's one guy. It's very old school, but since you use Thunderbird, I would take a look at MailMate. It's not as swift, newfangled as these Sparrow Spark Mail.
The handling on Spark, I tell you.
Do you use the swipe?
I do.
Yeah. See, the swipe is what the young people like, where you You
Swipe to archive.
That's why
swipe
you
to
should
star,
have touch on your
swipe to-
Mac, by the way, because you could.
But I have this
You're doing
beautiful
mouse swipe.
touchpad to swipe with.
I don't like swipe. I like a button that says reply or archive or, and so forth. There is no perfect email client, I think. I'm afraid that that's the case. One of the things I wanted to show you today, I don't know if we're going to have time, is a little bit about my email setup and the filters I use. To me, that's more important. And one of the things free ad for Fastmail here, but one of the reasons I moved from Gmail to Fastmail is because I really want a very highly customizable environment where I completely control what happens to inbound mail. So Fastmail has a scripting language called Civ that's ostensibly for anti-spam, and that's how if you use the easy user interface, that's kind of what you'll be doing. You'll saying, if it says this, go ahead. But it's also a very powerful tool for filtering. And so what I'm looking for, and I think anybody who does a lot of email is looking for, is a way to take all that stuff that comes into your inbox and pre-organize it so that when you finally, open the inbox, there's folders that make sense and so forth. Like my mom's mail goes into a place where I will look. I have a VIP folder that is just by name, 5 people you're on it, Mikah. And then I also have an important folder, and that's people who are in my contact list. So I figure if they're in my contact list, I do want to see what they sent to me. And then I have a filter called that basically, and this is what Fastmail let you do, but MailMate supports this as well. It has very good filtering. The reason I'll tell you why I do it on Fastmail instead of on MailMate, because I want it to be everywhere. So MailMate's on one machine, but with an IMAP server like Fastmail's, or Gmail for that matter, you can have those rules be server side.
I just advocate for doing it server side anyway. There's so many different reasons to do that, and I like that it's quicker that way. It doesn't, when you open up your mail application, it's already done. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's kind of old school to have it client side, to be honest, like Thunderbird and MailMate, because we now have more than one computer. This comes from a day when this was your computer. That was it. If you filtered it there, you were done. Now we have many ways of looking at our emails. So that's why you want a good IMAP client and why you want good filtering on the server. This is one of my favorite filters. In a good client, you'll be able to say there are some additional headers that are in the email. You want to be able to filter on email headers.
Yes.
That's a very powerful thing to do. They're not normally visible to you, but they are visible to the client. I look for some telltales for mass mail marketing messages and things like that. I look for an unsubscribe in the body of the message, things like that. And that way you can be very good at filtering out what I call bacon. It's not spam. It's not unsolicited commercial email. It's something you signed up for,
but it's not necessarily good for you.
But it's still not good for you. So I get a lot of bacon, and I want to be able to really control that. So that's where those filters come in. At some point when we have more time, I will walk through some of the filters. And then some of them are very simple things like if the mail is not in English, just put it in the other language. Part of that's because my last name is French. Oh. I get a lot of French spam. Oh, the party must be interested in the great tour we have of the Eiffel Tower or something. I don't know. Anyway, so those are worth trying, but there are many, 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 many more choices. It's even worse, Richard, on Windows.
Oh, yeah.
Because there isn't really a good email client for Windows. Microsoft's is terrible. Outlook is...
it's so weighed down.
Divisive, let's say. So there are a lot of, and there are some very weird ones. I used Pegasus Mail for a long time on Windows. It's very divisive over there. In fact, the truth is, when on this Windows machine and most of my Windows machines, I just use the web-based mail, because Fastmail's web is good. Richard, a pleasure to talk to you. Enjoy how many Subarus do you have?
Currently just 2, an Outback and a Forester.
Oh, come on, man.
Hey, 2. That's
my daughter has an Outback. My brother has a WRX.
Wow.
It's in the family. My father-in-law has an Outback. My sister-in-law has a brand new Forester.
My son's a Subi guy. He calls it a Subi. My partner, Henry. Yes, yeah, that's right. It's Subaru guy. So, Yeah, I can understand the appeal. Although Henry now says, I want a Jeep. No, what does he want? He wants a Bronco. That's what all the kids want.
Oh, those are cool.
Yeah, he wants a Bronco.
A bucking like a horse, right?
Yeah, he wants to go back to ride a horse.
Richard, you're the chili guy, right?
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you again for that recipe.
Oh.
So good.
Well, I hope you will share that.
I don't know.
Mid chili.
Yeah, I will. I'll share it with you.
What's the secret of a great chili?
Apparently, it's Dijon.
Yeah, a little Dijon
That
mustard.
made such a difference.
Yeah, and I throw in a little squeeze of lime too, and I don't think that's in the recipe.
Lime is
I'll add that to the recipe.
Lime is God's gift to
taste buds.
Taste buds.
I agree.
There's something about the lime; it's magical. Thank you, Subaru.
Thank you.
Have
Thank
a
you,
good
guys.
one. Take care. Oh, it's nice when I press that button; they just disappear. I have power. Let us say hello to our dear friend and photographer, Chris Marquardt.
Hello.
Hey, welcome back. Ask the Tech Guys welcomes Chris Marquardt of DiscoverTheTopFloor.com. He was, of course, for how many years were you on the Tech Guys show? 15 or something. Long time.
Must be 16 now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
And every month, Chris would give us an assignment. And this was something I was very loath to get rid of. Really loath to get rid of. You know, we have Ant Pruitt, who's our photographer in-house at TWiT, and he can give us tips, but no one has the fishbowl. No one can do what Chris Marquardt does. And we need our assignments. Hi, Chris. It's great to see you.
Well, I would, and hi, Mikah, by the way.
Hello.
I would like to just take a short minute and look at what we have online, because that's the place where we do the assignment. That's the Flickr group, the
Yes.
Tech Guy Flickr group.
And I didn't want to lose that either. That was another reason.
Yeah, I'm glad you.
Yeah, that would be horrible to lose that, especially as, I mean, just look at the statistics. There's 13,942 members.
Wow.
7,640 photos on there.
Nice.
There's discussions, like 300 discussions going on. The group has been going since May 26, 2007. So that dates us. And it's if you go through the let me bring that. Is that it's not coming up on the screen for some reason. Anyway.
Uh-oh. We're having this is Zoom trouble day.
Yeah, it's a curse.
Yeah.
It's not. It's my infrastructure trouble day.
Well, I'll pull it up. If you
Zoom
want.
is not the culprit. So no. I just want to point people towards it. If you go to flickr.com/groups/tech-guy, or you search for the Tech Guy, then you can bask in the glory of thousands of photos and become a member of a wonderful community. It is amazing. So it's a cool place to go. It's also Renee Silverman does a great job administering that and moderating it, so she's still around, and it's a cool place, and that's where we do the assignments. So
and if
we'll do one.
If you're not a Flickr member, the good news is it's free to join. FLICKR.com. There is a paid pro membership. Chris and I are pro members because we want to support it. It's owned by SmugMug now, not Yahoo. And the McCaskills are doing a great job, I think, with it. If you go to Flickr.com, you have to join the Tech Guy group. So look for that group with 13,000 members. I don't think there's any Tech Guy group with as many members as that. And join it. Then you can submit your photos, up to one a week. For the assignment. And Chris, we're going to give everybody their 4-week chance to find a great image.
Yeah, so we have a schedule for this. I think it's every third Sunday in a month. So that'll be kind of when we look at photos, when we make a new drawing from the fishbowl.
Awesome.
And that's what we're going to do right now.
Good. Because we need a word.
The fishbowl.
The fishbowl is full of adjectives. Full of great adjectives to describe your full. And by the way, Mikah can participate, right? Even if he doesn't have a fancy camera, he can use his iPhone. And actually, many of the best pictures come from camera phones.
Love to
participate. Yeah.
Look through the pool of photos there. 7,000 plus photos. I would venture that at least half to 2/3 are from smartphones.
But no peeing in the pool. You can
in the fishbowl or the pool? Oh, the pool.
Yeah.
unless you are very gentle. That's the word for today.
Gentle.
Jen, no. Gentel. Gentle. Okay, so how does this work, Chris, for people who are new to the show?
Well, the whole reason to do this is because we want people to get off the couch, get out, take photos, become active. And that's what we're doing here. So you want to take a photo that somehow shows the concept of gentle in some way and submit it to the Tech Guy group. And then we are going to go through the photos next month, and I will pick 3 and talk about them.
You might want to just stop by anyway. There's so many great images.
So that's what I've loved looking through the photos.
Yeah, it's really quite beautiful. And there's Renee, and Renee's a photographer, so her info, you see what pictures she's got in there, but she's a great person to know and follow on Flickr. And once you're in the group, again, you go to groups under the U, and go to Tech Guy. And let's get some images that are gentle. Now,
real photos, by the way, real photos.
Oh, no AI! You're not going to accept AI?
No AI.
Darn it! We should do a set. You know what? Can we do a separate pool for AI generated ones?
Oh, we could make one of the assignments an AI assignment.
Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm gonna
not this one.
No, I'm gonna start a new
one.
rule. When you take a picture and you say, that's a gentle picture, a picture of my kitty cat lying on the pillow, whatever it is, you tag it, upload it to Flickr first, and then it'll ask you for some tags. TG, we're going to use Tech Guy still, TG gentle, so we know it's for this assignment. But if you tag it TG gentle -AI, you can upload an AI image, and we'll just keep that in a separate pool, and maybe next time we'll look at some... There's some pretty good, Alex Lindsay's become a master of Midjourney. He's amazing what he can do. You told me all about this before anybody, Chris, so I think it'd be kind of fun. We still want you to take photos. This is not a way to bypass that.
To win.
Yeah. There's no prize for AI, but I'd be curious.
There's no winning here.
I'd be curious what people come up with for gentle. So it doesn't have to be literal. It could be the idea gentle, the concept gentle. Anything that makes you feel gentle. And I will quote a good friend of mine, a National Geographic photographer. I once asked him, how do you know if I have a good shot? He says, I feel it right here in my tummy. So you'll know. It's a good shot. You'll go, oh yeah, that's a good one. Chris, when's your next photo expedition?
Well, I will do a big workshop in May, and then the Eastern European Photo Workshop, Photo Road Trip, is coming up in September. Still a couple of seats left there, so you can find all about that on discoverthetopfloor.com. We'll go from Berlin to Prague, to Vienna, to Budapest, to Transylvania. Lots of history, lots of European history, and then a second tour going the same way back, and it's all in an electric vehicle in a Tesla Model 3. So
fun.
We'll be eco-friendly doing it.
Are you going to promise us, though, I beg of you, not to turn on full self-driving with people in your car? I just beg of you.
It'll be the safest journey through Eastern Europe than you can have. I promise that.
Okay. Chris Marquardt, discoverthetopfloor.com. Great to see you, my friend. And we'll see you 4 weeks from today.
On the third Sunday next month.
Third Sunday of the month, every month. Beautiful.
Right, thanks so much.
Thank you, Chris. When's the Super Bowl?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. When's the Super Bowl, Ant? Do we know when the Super Bowl is? Oh, shut up. It's something with soccer. I want to get a woman on the air, so I am going to go to an audio-only call. How about that? Mary Ann. Let me see if I can assign her to on air. And then I want you to do your demo.
Cool.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay, so let's see. Mary Ann, there should be a button that says turn on. We don't see video, which is fine. But we would like to hear your audio because I would just like to get more women on the show. Hi, Mary Ann.
Hi, you guys. So
Hello.
nice to see you and talk to you.
It's
to
so
talk
great
to
to have
you.
you. You know, if you're uncomfortable putting out video, anybody, it's fine to do what Marianne's doing. It's just like the radio show. But notice the quality of the audio is a lot better.
Yeah.
So I like that. Where are you, Marianne? Oh, no. She's disappeared is where she is. Are you there, Marianne? Oh, no. We lost her.
Oh, that's too bad.
It wasn't me.
I bet it was a slip of the finger on Marianne's side.
Did you push mute? I bet she muted. She's still in there.
Oh, yeah.
There's a Zoom mute. No. Okay. Sigh. Well, we have about half an hour left in the show. I would like you to take a walk. You need to get your blood moving.
Yes, I'm worried about those clots.
Mikah is going to now. Did we ever set up a camera so we could watch Mikah walk? Oh, yes. So turn on the magic room camera. Do you have that? There we go. Oh, look at that. Look at that. There's Mikah. He's walking. He's walking. He's walking. He's a tall young man striding over to what we call Radio Corner. You're over there. That's a radio transmitter over on your right there, Mikah. That's a AM radio transmitter. Yeah. It's not turned on, though. Or it is. It is. It's the lights are on, but there's no one home.
So I thought it'd be a good time to talk about battery health on the iPhone and actually battery health on smartphones in general, so you can take a look and see if your phone needs to be, if you need the battery replaced. Because if it's within warranty and if especially if you've got some sort of Apple Care, then you can take that in, get a new battery, and get it replaced. So over here on the iPhone, we're going to launch the Settings app. And then we are going to scroll down until we see battery, which is above privacy and security and below exposure notifications. I'll tap on battery. And here we've got 3 different options here: battery percentage, low power mode, and battery health and charging. Battery health and charging is the option we want to select. When we go in here, you're going to see some different settings. The first one is maximum capacity. This is the most important thing to look at. Maximum capacity for a new phone is going to show 100%. But as your phone ages and your battery ages, that percentage is going to drop. That's due to the way that batteries work. There's a chemical process going on in that battery. And as the battery gets older, as the battery heats and cools, that chemical process is not as good, so to speak, as it was when it started. And so the capacity of your battery is going to drop over time. This second setting is called peak performance capability. And this is something that with a newer phone with 100% capacity is not something you really need to worry about. But again, as your battery ages, you can toggle this option on and off to give yourself longer battery life versus getting the best performance out of the phone as possible. So you get to make the choice at that point. If this switches on, then it's not a bad time to head into an Apple store or a third-party support technician who can help you make that battery change. Of course, no matter what, it will cost you a certain fee, but as I said, the prices will be going up soon, so that would be the time to do that. The third and the fourth option are going to depend on your location. The third one is optimized battery charging, and what this does is basically in the background, the phone's kind of looking at how you charge your phone, and it starts to keep a schedule of when you charge your phone. Do you charge it at night whenever you go to bed? Do you find yourself charging it in the middle of the day? And then as it figures out your routine, it will change the way that it charges to give you the best battery health possible. So what happens with this, it's kind of interesting, is it will slowly charge up to 80% because a slower charge is going to be better on the battery. And then that last 20%, it will wait until right before you wake up, for example, or right until you are sort of seen to be picking up your phone, and then it'll go ahead and charge it the rest of the way. It turns out that having a little bit of juice out of a battery is better than having it at full charge for the life of the battery, so that's why they do that. And the last section, this is a relatively new feature. It's called clean energy charging. And this is just kind of the little setting that you can feel a little bit better about yourself, because what it does is it notes your location, and then it looks at in your region the way that the power network works in your region, meaning that When is the electricity that's on the grid that has lower carbon emissions available, and when is it not? And then it will try to charge whenever the energy is cleaner. So this is just kind of a nice way to be mindful of that. But it depends, again, on your region, so you may not have that feature. Now, again, when we're talking about battery replacements, the first two settings, maximum capacity and peak performance capability, are the two settings that you're going to want to pay attention to. If that toggle is on in that second one, maybe about time to take that into a technician and say, hey, I think I'd like to get a new battery into this thing. Now, I looked into the way to do this. I thought, I'll just look up how to do this on Android. No. If you do that, then what happens is you're told that depending on, of course, what device you have, it may or may not have information about the battery health. And there were some suggestions for third-party apps that you can download, but the problem with the third-party apps is that they only start paying attention to your battery from the moment that you download it to the phone. They're not able to dig in and see the sort of registration information for that battery to know when it was created, what the discharge and charge cycles have been. So only once you've downloaded are you able to use it. However, specifically with Pixel devices, Google is actively working on a battery health feature that should be coming in the next version of Android. I did download the beta to my Pixel 6 device. Of course, beta software is the software that's still in testing, but they let you try it out to see what's broken, what's working. And in doing so, I was still not able to get that battery health feature on my phone, although some Pixel phones, it is showing that. So it seems to be kind of A/B testing that they're doing. So we'll see about that. The good news is Samsung appears to have a battery health feature. And joining us by way of movie magic is Jason Howell to show us how you check that out if you've got a Samsung device.
Hey there, tech guys. I'm Jason Howell, and I happen to have in my hands here the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 5G. Why do I have it? Well, because I'm going to show you how to check the battery health of your Samsung device. And Samsung has made it incredibly easy, so let's dive in. So first of all, pull down your notification shade, and up at the top right corner, you'll see the settings icon. Just tap that. And then in this whole list of options, scroll down and find battery and device care. That's the option that you're looking for. So tap that. Look for the diagnostics option on this next page. That's down at the very bottom of that page, and go ahead and tap that. Now, you may need to agree to Samsung's terms of service upon first launch. I needed to the first time, but you're not seeing it here in this video. You may see it. So just, choose as you will. And once you do, you'll see this huge grid of different aspects of your phone that you can test. Now, you can either choose to do all of these tests together, which I'd say takes around 5 minutes or so, or you can just fire off any of these tests individually. That's what we're going to do with the battery test. So find battery in this grid, and then tap it, and it'll perform that test for you. Now, what you're looking for here on this next screen is the section that says life. This is the actual health of your battery. Now, mine shows good in that field, which is, well, pretty good. But you might also see normal there, or you could see weak there. Now, if you're seeing weak, then you're probably getting less out of your battery than you did when the phone was new. So you might want to think about replacing that battery to bring it back to life again. See, it's really that easy. All right, tech guys, back to you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
So this is one thing that'll be a little different than the radio show. We have a vast array of experts in the Netcast network. And Jason Howell is one of them, a host of All About Android, your co-host on Tech News Weekly, and a producer of TWiT and some other shows, so it's great to have him. Ant Pruitt's sitting right across from me, of course, our community manager in the Club TWiT. Also, Hands-On Photography is his show, and he will also be giving us some photography tips, Ant, I hope. I'm counting. Wave. There's his head. He's wearing Clemson orange. You can't tell because you only can see the head. Now, I'm going to try again with Marianne. I think we've figured it out, or maybe not. Marianne, are you there?
I am very much here.
Yay! Well, I don't know what happened. We lost you, but welcome back.
Well, thank you. But, that may have been a premonition of what I'm calling you about. Ooh. Because now you've done me a good deed, and good deeds never go unpunished.
As long as it's not a printer question, Marianne, I'm cool with that.
No printer questions. Nope. I spent a month in Europe last summer without a smartphone.
Very nice.
I had a Samsung tablet, and that saved my bacon a few times, but I'm going back this summer, and I thought, a smartphone, maybe I ought to migrate out of medieval times.
Where are you traveling?
This time I'm going to go to Portugal and Wales.
Nice.
Wow.
And,
Well, that's an interesting juxtaposition. Too much sun. Let's go get some rain. Okay. Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to ride some train stuff. So I'm not with tours, so I've got to be able to find my way around.
It's amazing how travel has changed thanks to the smartphone. Having an always on device that you can get maps on.
Yes.
It used to be and I kind of might have maybe missed this. I remember getting lost in Venice, like completely lost. Like I had no idea where I was, where my hotel was, because it's a maze. And I didn't have a smartphone to get back. And there were some serendipitous things that happened getting lost. I think it's not the end of the world. But it's a little bit reassuring to be able to drop a pin at your hotel and know that you can get back there no matter what happens, especially if you're not with a group.
Yeah, and the expectation is there that you can do that too. So you really have to grab people and look desperate to get their help because they think.
Lady, don't you have a smartphone? What's
the matter? I'm very busy here.
I got things to do.
But here at home, I get by with a landline and a flip phone. I just don't want to be on a leash. I don't want people thinking I'm waiting for my pocket to vibrate just because I want to listen to them. So okay.
I don't blame you, actually.
It
I think
sounds like a very free life.
Yeah. The tablet, it was a good choice. The tablet gets you a good way there without having a phone.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, as soon as you leave the hotel, the tablet is big. It's not that it's not that you can't download the maps, because you can with all the mapping programs. You can, while you're in the hotel on Wi-Fi, you get all your maps. And if the tablet happens to have GPS, many don't. So you have to first of all see if you can do that.
Yeah.
But if it has GPS, for instance, you might want to look at an iPad mini.
I was thinking iPad.
You'd have to get the cellular version of it, because that's where you get GPS. Otherwise, it doesn't have a GPS built in. So you're going to spend $129 more for the cellular version of the iPad mini. It's, I keep meaning to bring it to the show every week because it's perfect. It's like there's something about it.
So lovely.
Micah and I are both doing things with our hands.
Yeah.
It's 7 inches. And that's big for a phone, but small for a tablet. It's purseable.
Fits in a bag or purse or backpack or whatever very easily.
And with the cellular, it would have all of the functionality of the phone minus having a phone number.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have that, everyone thinking that they can reach out to you and buzz your pocket.
Yeah. So that would replace my Samsung tablet. It would replace my iPod, which takes photos and does stuff, but you can't call. And it would replace my flip phone then no, not my flip phone.
You could make calls on it. Actually, it's even possible to make calls on it.
Not the standard way. So it involves a little bit of work. So I wouldn't say that it's a full replacement for your flip phone.
For instance, in Europe, you probably noticed this, especially in Portugal. I bet you in Wales, WhatsApp is the default way of communicating, right?
WhatsApp is, yes. Yeah, and I got it on my tablet.
Yeah. So then you can make calls from WhatsApp, video and voice calls from WhatsApp.
You could do that on the iPad.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. Now, I think WhatsApp, does it have?
Oh, is it tied to a phone number for a login?
I think it's tied to a phone number. But do you bring your flip phone with you? You might anyway.
No, it doesn't. It's track phone. It has no antenna.
Oh, it has nothing. Yeah.
So, no, Walmart's.
I feel like if you've got a data plan, you're going to have to buy a data plan. I'm sorry, but they're not expensive because it's a tablet. So you're going to have to buy a data plan, at least temporarily. You're going to be using eSIM. So when you get to Portugal, you buy it from a Portuguese provider. When you get to Wales, you could buy it from a Welsh provider or like 3 in the UK. And they will give you data. They won't give you a phone number. I mean, you will have a phone number technically, but they won't give you a line that you can call from. But you could use data to call. You could even use Apple's own messages program to make video calls and FaceTime. So you're really not actually out of the universe. You can make FaceTime calls, for instance.
Is this the time for me to just go whole hog and start with a new suite? My PC at home is 2012. It will not take Windows 11. Is it time to get an Apple computer? And should I have a watch? You know, an Apple or some kind of watch that would notice that I've been knocked in the head by a flying wood off my leg.
That's kind of important.
I'm all alone.
Do you have family members that what devices they use?
No. Family members write postcards. That's it.
Got it.
I like your family. Yeah. Can you adopt me? I like that. So that's very nice.
They would.
Do they do it with quill pens and calligraphy?
Yes, exactly.
I think that's cool. I don't. This is an interesting question. You'd think as tech guys we'd say, "Oh yeah, you're going to get all this stuff." I don't think we feel that way.
No, neither of us do.
Yeah.
It's not necessary unless it's necessary, and I don't know that it sounds like it's necessary. I mean, it is interesting. I will say, I've noticed in talking to you, you did bring it up twice about thinking about.
I think you want permission.
All of these.
You think she wants permission.
So it does feel a little bit like your subconscious is saying, "I really would like to jump in." And of course, then we'll be here for you. I've got a show iOS today that's got a lot of questions
Very good show
answered for you.
Yeah.
But I would wonder if it wouldn't be better for this first trip. Let's dip our toe in before we jump into the polar ice.
I think
freezing.
you'd love a Mini.
Yeah, I agree. I think that could be great.
You could get. We're getting really complicated here, but the chat room's reminding me. You could get a Google Voice number. Those are free. That gives you a phone number. You could then use that number with WhatsApp on your iPad Mini, and now you actually have an incoming and outbound phone number and all of that stuff. Don't think of it as a phone though, and that's really, I think, important to you. Think of it as a mobile computer, a portable little computer that will give you the maps that you want. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, hotels, restaurants, they want you to reserve online.
I was going to say, and a lot of times receipts you pay with your phone. You've got that little QR code that you scan. And it's got a good camera on it.
You're obviously smart, Marianne. I think you would probably do well with a watch, and probably you don't need a computer, Mac.
Unless you're just talking about at home. Whenever you come back home.
Certainly not for travel. You wouldn't want to bring that.
No, not for travel, but for home, starting over again.
I think a MacBook Air, you don't need the M2, the most expensive new one. The $1,000 MacBook Air base model might be a good, for email, for browsing the internet. Do you feel a little disadvantaged that you can't browse the internet?
You mean when I'm traveling?
No, when you're at home.
Oh, and I'm home. I have a PC.
Oh, you have that 2012 PC. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, I've got everything on it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't go to Windows 11.
Windows 10.
Which is okay, because Windows 11.
Well, and if you're comfortable with that, I don't know if you need to upgrade it as long as it's running and it's doing its own thing. I prefer a Mac, especially for people who aren't particularly technical, or even a Chromebook, which is less expensive, a Google Chromebook. But if you're happy with that, let's not blow the budget out of the water. Let's get a Mini.
Trying it out. And
you think an iPad Mini would be?
An iPad Mini, I really think that's going to cover all your bases because it's so easy to travel with. And you, again, if you've got the cellular model, so you'll want to make sure to get that cellular model. And there's lots of different ways that you can then use it overseas whenever you're traveling.
I'll tell you the one thing I love about the watch that for me is transformational. When it first came out, I thought no one's going to do this, is Apple Pay and using the watch to pay. And I imagine these days, everywhere you go in Europe, touch to pay is there. It will save you from having to carry a credit card and a wallet. And I mean, you probably still want to have a wallet, but I feel like this is such a convenience. I didn't really buy into it at first because I thought, how hard is it to take a credit card out of your pocket? But now I'm sold.
Interesting. That's very interesting because I was amazed that my credit card was just getting me everywhere without having to get a ticket. You can go to all the train stations and stand in line and get a ticket, or you just take out your credit card, show it to the post, and off you go.
Because they all have chips now, and they work just like an Apple Watch. So that's a good point. You don't really need a watch to do that. But you probably remember, as I do, when you were going to Europe, you would buy American Express traveler's checks. Right?
All right.
Before you left, and you'd sign. You have to sign them twice. You'd sign once, and then when you got to the American Express, Mike is looking at us like we're weirdos. You get to the American Express office, and then you could sign the other side, and then you get cash. And then, but now with ATMs,
is that how you paid to send Morse code across the sea?
That's right. I'd like to send a telegram home.
Yes, That's right. That's right. Oh my goodness. And what's the exchange rate today?
Yeah.
Ooh, let me
Yeah,
change
exactly.
it.
Now you go to an ATM, pull cash out. You've got the local currency. I don't even bother getting the currency ahead of time anymore. You get it right there at the airport.
No.
Everything's touch to pay, as you say, all the transit, master. And so I don't think you need a watch, but that's now you're wearing on something on your wrist. And by the way, one of the things the watch does that is really cool, I don't know, will it do it with the iPad? I think it will, is when you're walking around a town, it gives you the turn directions on your watch. Oh. It used to be, you would know a tourist in any European city because they'd be the ones with the maps, holding the maps up, going like...
looking at the sky.
Yeah. And there inevitably somebody comes and says, would you like some help?
Yes,
Eiffel Tower,
like
see, it's right over there. But nowadays, you can have your watch discreetly say, turn left here, turn right here, 300 feet, you're there. And I like that feature also for walking around. Having maps on the watch is actually very nice because it buzzes your wrist when it's time to turn and stuff like that.
And it makes you look like
what is that connected to? Is that connected to?
Tell me, Mike. Can you do it with an iPad?
You
Maybe
cannot.
Not. You have to have a phone.
You do have to have a phone.
So that might be the argument for getting an iPhone. It sounds like you don't want to do that, though, Marianne.
But are there different kinds of watches that go with different phones, or you've got to have the Apple Match?
Well, those are the best. We were just talking about that earlier. You can get an Android. Okay. You can get an Android phone and an Android watch. They're not bad, but they're not as good.
Okay. But it won't talk to my iPad mini with my cellular.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. They lock that into the iPhone.
They really want you to get an iPhone. Don't fall for it. Get the mini. Try the mini. I think the mini will be very nice for you. You will be able to carry it around. Do whenever you remember when you're on the hotel Wi-Fi, download maps ahead of time. Reduce your data usage as much as possible. But in an emergency, you've got the mini, and you can make you can get a hotel. You know what? There's some great useful maps for transit in most European cities that you can say. I can't remember the one I used when we were in England, but it was wonderful. You'd say, I want to go to, I want to see the Tower of London. It would say, well, there are 3 ways you can go. You can take the tube, you can take a black cab, and it would tell you
City
how
Mapper?
long. City Mapper, yeah, it was a wonderful program. And it would say, oh, there's a tube stop, 3 blocks away from you. You take the J car to and it does it all. And it's really a nice way to get around.
Wow.
Yeah, really,
wow,
it's transformed travel. It has absolutely transformed travel. And I think even more every year it gets better and better. So.
I probably ought to get it soon so I can practice getting around the block in my hometown.
Good thinking.
Good idea.
Is there a good time of year to buy these?
No, you might check the refurbished section if you want to save some money.
Apple.
Yeah,
only from Apple.
Yeah. Don't get refurbished from a third party. But if you go to apple.com and you go into the store, there'll be a refurbished section. And if you can find an iPad mini there that has cellular connectivity, you will be good to go.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Interesting. Well, it's time. I got to jump.
Don't feel compelled, but if you feel the urge, I think you're going to really enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree.
I really do.
I'll send you guys a postcard.
Please.
We genuinely love that.
Write that with your quill pen. If you want to use your sealing wax to put your stamp on it, that's fine too. Really a pleasure talking to you, Marianne. I hope you call again. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So nice to see you. Talk to you.
I love using sealing wax. I think it's the coolest thing.
I did as a kid. I had a whole thing in the L.
Yeah, mine's got my last S on it. It's so much fun.
You still do that?
Yeah, I just think it's neat.
You melt it with it.
Yeah, I've got this little spoon. I've got a candle, and I put the wax in the top, and then I pour it on, and I put the little stamp. It's so much fun.
He's an old man in a young man's body. I don't understand it. I really don't.
But I never had traveler's checks.
Yeah, well, that's true. There are some
I didn't travel, though, so that's why.
Oh, yeah. We got to get Mikah out of the country. He's never been out of the country. That's next. That's next on our agenda.
Yeah. I'm calling to you from Wales right now. Tech guy goes global.
Hey, we've been having a lot of fun. This is our second episode, even though it says 1,957. Second time we've done it this way. I apologize. There have been a few little glitches, although I'm sure we'll snip some of those out to smooth things out. We want to thank very much not only our sponsor, Melissa, and of course our studio sponsor, ACI Learning, IT Pro from ACI Learning. They're a great company, been with us for many, many years. They've now got a new name they want you to know about. I should mention this. We have a lot of free ways to interact, and I encourage you to interact with us, on this show and all of our shows using our internet relay chat, our IRC at irc.twit.tv. We have a fabulous forums. It's kind of underused. I would like to see more people in twit.community. Again, open to all, free. And our Mastodon instance. If you've been hearing about this alternative to Twitter and wondering, well, what's it all about? It's only open to Twit listeners. So twit.social. And when it says, tell me something about why you want to join, mention Mikah or mention Twit, or just let us know somehow that you listen. That way, we would love to have you in there, but I just want to keep it constrained. So there's the forums, twit.social is the Mastodon. And of course, these all cost money, but they are absolutely subsidized by Club Twit members. Not limited to Club Twit members, but Club Twit members help. So thank you so much to our now 6,000 strong members of Club Twit. It's a great group of people.
Seriously, that's incredible.
And frankly, without Club Twit, I don't know if we'd even be doing Ask the Tech Guys. It really helps us do stuff like this. It's a little more experimental. Speaking of which, we have our survey for the rest of the month, only a few more weeks to go to twit.tv/survey23. It's our 2023 survey. It's how we do this once a year. We get to know you a little bit better so we can make programming that fits you a little bit better. But also, I admit it, helps us tell advertisers a little bit more about you, because we don't want to track you. We don't want to spy on you. So it's completely voluntary, completely optional, but it does help us a little bit if you go to twit.tv/survey23. Thanks in advance. Anything else?
I have one very good question we can round things out on. Oh, wait. Did you want to do another question?
I have a bunch of emails, actually, I haven't gotten to.
This was, I thought, a brilliant question because I think it touches at the heart of...
We're eating into Benito's lunch, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, okay. We got 10 minutes.
It's fine.
So the question that someone asked via email, they said, okay, I have heard you talk about how when you have a VPN, you should be a little skeptical if that VPN is free. And, you've got this concern that by paying for a VPN, that makes a difference. So tell me why it's okay to use a password manager that is free. Why do you not have that concern for a password manager that is free? And of course, we know the answer to this question, but I thought that it was a question that a lot of people would wonder about.
In general, what people say, and I think it's somewhat true, is that if a service is free, then the way they monetize it is you're not the customer, you're the product. Gmail, Google, all of this stuff, Facebook costs money to run, a lot of money to run. They need to make money back. They do it by collecting information about you and then selling advertising. So it is, and with a VPN, there's, the whole reason you're using it is so that nobody collects information on you, right?
Yeah.
Bitwarden, I presume this is about Bitwarden.
Yeah, this is Bitwarden.
So Bitwarden, our sponsor, isn't really free in the sense that they want people to buy premium subscriptions, family plans, enterprise plans, and so forth. And that's how they make their money. But like a lot of free and open source software, the open source basic version is free. They make their money on consulting and additional services and things like that. In that case, it's a little bit different because it is open source. Bitwarden has a free tier that's actually probably all most people would need. There are a few extra features if you want two-factor, which you probably do. I would pay the $10 a year for premium, small price to pay.
Yeah, that's a really good price.
But it's free because it's open source, I guess. And open source software, anybody who wants to can go take that software from GitHub or wherever it's stored and compile it on their computer and use it for free anyway. So they understand, well, we're going to offer a free tier, but like almost all open source projects, you might say, well, Linux is free, right? OpenOffice is free. Like many open source projects, they have a free tier, but they do make money. They make good money. Firefox is free. It's an open source product, but Mozilla has additional tiers that you can pay and services that they offer and things like that. And that's worked out pretty well for a lot of open source projects. There are open source VPNs, by the way, some very, very good open source VPNs. A lot of people prefer to commercial VPNs. And the difference there is they're free. There's no one snooping on you because you're running it. You just have to have the technical expertise to run it yourself. And for people who don't, then a paid VPN is probably a better choice.
Yeah. So when we look at the behavior, it tends to be that a free VPN is making its money off of that tracking data that it gets and then can resell, versus with a password manager like the ones that we've talked about, where they're making money through other ways, either by more expensive or an actual cost option, or through the consulting and things like that. Yeah. So that's why we have those different opinions about VPNs versus password managers.
Also, with open source, they're not tracking you because you or somebody can look at the source and see what's going on. I got this a couple of months ago, and I wanted to read it. This is a snail mail. I got this with a stamp
in the post,
in an envelope. They use sealing wax and a quill pen. It's a Showbiz David from Oakland. Thank you, Showbiz David. How sad I was to learn of your leaving. He's talking about the Tech Guy Show. You're my favorite of all talk show hosts. That got my attention.
Hey.
Good way to start.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand why you needed a regular co-anchor. You have a room full of techies. He's talking about the chat room, ready to offer answers. So of late, I've been listening to you only on Sundays, preferring you solo. Well, I hope you've changed your tune by now. You realize why Mikah's here. He adds so much to the experience. I never called a talk show, but had I called you, I would have said, what's going on? The cursor on my Dell Latitude can't stay put, often running away to another spot on the page. I've talked to Dell, Googled some fixes, nothing works. Am I correct? Is there no permanent fix for this problem? I think you need to get Dell to replace your trackpad.
Yeah.
But there's one more thing you could try. Always when there's an issue like this with a computer, the fundamental question is this a hardware problem or is this a software problem?
Yep.
So always a good idea, and I do this, to have a boot device of some kind, a USB boot device. Could be Windows installer. It could be a Linux. That's probably the best way to do it. You can download it for free. Boot to that USB key and then see if the trackpad's jumping around. If it continues to jump around, it's good news. It's not the software, it's hardware. Dell needs to fix it. Those are usually on most laptops. Certainly Latitude's easy to replace. You can, in fact, go to ifixit.com. You'll see you can take it apart, buy a standalone trackpad, pop it in. You might be able to fix that. He also says there's nothing like the vitality of live radio. That's probably true. And you are only 65. 65? Anyway, I'm not retiring, as you've probably figured out by now, Showbiz. He says, you can Google me, Showbiz David. He says, I'm not retiring. I am joining Mikah to continue doing this show in a more salubrious environment. How about that?
Boom.
For a big
Beautiful.
word.
I like it.
Sesquipedalian.
Let me write that one down.
Yeah. One thing Mike B says in our IRC, Mike's good, disable the touchpad, see what happens. One of the settings that many people have is palm rejection. Look in your Windows settings to see if you have that. It might be special to that trackpad. But sometimes when you're typing, your palm
gets
rubs
all on
the
there.
trackpad. And almost every computer I've ever seen with a trackpad has that ability to say turn on palm rejection. You don't want,
that's
when
a
you're
palm,
typing,
not fingers.
Yeah, when you're typing, you don't want the trackpad to move. And Mike has from killertechtips.com disable the Dell touchpad. Now, obviously, you don't want to do that forever.
Yes, temporarily.
Although, here's a fine Dell mouse that actually works fine with a Dell laptop. And you just move it around instead of your fingers. What else? I think we're done.
I think that really does do it.
Our clock is a tidbyte.
Yes. Oh, good. Yes.
I know we're going to get the emails.
tidbyt.com.
tidbyt.com. It's programmable. I just
can
thought
write your own little apps for it.
We ought to have a clock
Applets.
because people seem to like that for some reason.
Somebody somewhere likes that.
Somebody,
and they let us know when we don't have it. So
and as you now know about both of us, I'm an old guy, Mike is a young guy, but we both need a line of sight clock at all times.
Got to know what time it is.
At all times.
For some reason.
Thank you for joining us and Ask the Tech Guys. Our email is askthetechguys@twit.tv. Emails are welcome. Videos are even better, or audio questions. The Zoom number is call.twit.tv. We're going to improve this over time. We've got there's initiatives in process to make that process more streamlined. What else should I tell them? You can find this show on live every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 UTC at live.twit.tv. There's audio if you are an old timer and you want radio. There's video if you're an old timer and you want TV. There's chat room at irc.twit.tv, or in our Discord. You can chat along as we're doing it live after the fact. The show still lives at techguylabs.com. You can watch audio or listen to audio and watch video there. There's also links there to most of the big podcast clients, so you can subscribe. There's also a YouTube channel, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show. It's a great way. In fact, we'd appreciate it to share clips from the show. If you've got somebody who's using a password like monkey123, you might want to send them a clip from that segment of the show, maybe battery segment, that kind of thing. We hope you'll do that because we want to spread the word about this brand new old show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time on Ask the Tech Guys. Bye-bye. Have a great Geek Week.
There it is.
Bye.
Hey, we should talk Linux. It's the operating system that runs the internet, a bunch of game consoles, cell phones, and maybe even the machine on your desk. You already knew all that. What you may not know is that TWiT now has a show dedicated to it, the Untitled Linux Show. Whether you're a Linux pro, a burgeoning sysadmin, or just curious what the big deal is, you should join us on the Club TWiT Discord every Saturday afternoon for news, analysis, and tips to sharpen your Linux skills. And then make sure you subscribe to the Club TWiT exclusive Untitled Linux Show. Wait, you're not a Club TWiT member yet? Well, go to twit.tv/clubtwit and sign up. Hope to see you there.